Welcome to r/Am I the Jerk, where Karen exposes her own family secrets and ends up getting fired for it. Am I the jerk for firing my sister after she exposed our family's darkest secrets at work? I, 28 female, am the founder and CEO of a small tech company that I've poured my heart into over the past 5 years. 6 months ago, my younger sister, who's 24, lost her job due to downsizing. Despite our rocky relationship, we're polar opposites. I decided to help her anyway. I'm introverted and I value privacy, but she's extroverted and often speaks without thinking. Initially, things went smoothly. She brought enthusiasm to the team, and I was hopeful that this could strengthen our sisterly bond. However, I began noticing colleagues giving me odd looks and whispering when I wasn't around. During a team lunch, one employee casually mentioned a deeply personal family incident, joking about it as if it were common knowledge. I was stunned. I pulled my sister aside and I asked if she had been sharing personal family stories. She admitted that she had, saying it helped her connect with others and that it was no big deal. I stressed that our family's history is private and that discussing it at work was unprofessional. She just brushed me off and called me overly sensitive. A couple of weeks later, I discovered she had told several employees about our parents' tumultuous divorce and even shared that our mother had struggled with addiction, a painful chapter that we've worked hard to move past. This wasn't just embarrassing, it felt like a profound betrayal by her. I confronted her again, but she accused me of trying to control her and said I was letting my CEO status get to my head. Realizing that this was jeopardizing not only my reputation, but also the company's culture, I made the difficult decision to terminate her employment for breaching confidentiality and unprofessional conduct. She was furious, accusing me of choosing work over family and vowing to never forgive me for it. Our parents are now involved and they believe that I overreacted. They think I should have been more understanding and given her another chance. This whole situation has left me questioning myself. I feel guilty for firing her, but I also feel that I had to protect my company and my personal boundaries. So Reddit, am I the jerk for firing my sister after she exposed our family's darkest secrets at work? Update. I reached out to a friend who still works at the company where my sister was previously employed. He confirmed that she was indeed fired, but not just because of the downsizing that she had mentioned. According to him, she had a sack for orchestrating gossip and creating conflict among coworkers. She would spread rumors and stir up drama, which led to a toxic work environment and decreased team morale. Her behavior was disruptive enough that the company decided to let her go to preserve the integrity and productivity of the workplace. Hearing this from someone who was there really reinforces my decision to terminate her employment at my company. It seems her pattern of behavior has consistently caused problems wherever she goes, and I had to prioritize the well-being of my team. Thank you all for your continued support and understanding as I navigate this difficult situation. Update 2. I spoke to my parents about her actions. I recently had a detailed conversation with my parents about the rumors she was spreading at work, especially regarding the addiction and the divorce. I explained how her behavior was disrupting the workplace and shared the specific complaints from employees who felt uncomfortable. Additionally, I informed them about what her other coworker had told me from the company she got fired from. My parents are now very angry with her for sharing our family's private matters and for causing turmoil in my company. They also apologized to me for not recognizing the severity of her actions sooner and for any additional stress this has caused our family. Not the jerk. You didn't choose work over family at all. She chose to divulge personal and private information that could damage your reputation and your company's reputation. You chose to get rid of a problematic employee, period. And you did give her a warning. You shouldn't have hired her in the first place because your other employees were probably angry and annoyed by that move. To be blunt, your sister should be glad you gave her a job in the first place. You didn't have to, but you did. She should also be aware that if she shared personal stories about her CEO and they weren't family, she wouldn't have had a second chance. She'd have been put out the door in a shot. I'm kinda shocked that your parents were taking her side. Not the jerk, your sister did this to herself. If she complains again, tell her that she was the one who put work before family by choosing to use your personal family business as a way to make herself popular in the office. Am I the jerk for asking my daughter what she expected would happen when she started a family across the country? I have 2 daughters, Emma, who's 28, and Lizzie, who's 25. Emma went to college across the country, and after graduating, she got a job and stayed there. She's now married and they have a 2-year-old son. I did a lot of the mother of the bride duties via FaceTime, as I couldn't always fly out due to my work schedule and financial limitations. For example, I participated in dress shopping via FaceTime. However, I did fly down 2 weeks before the wedding to help get everything ready. When Emma was pregnant, I kept asking her friends about the baby shower date so I could take enough time off work, but Emma ended up changing the date. Unfortunately, I couldn't afford to fly out and take time off, especially to be there when the baby was born, as Emma had wanted me to. So once again, FaceTime became the solution. I did manage to fly in for her induction and stayed 2 weeks after. I've flown out to visit her 4 times, and Emma has come to visit me 3 times. We talk on the phone at least once a day. I FaceTime my grandson, and I try to be as emotionally present as possible. Emma often tells me she's glad we still have a close relationship. Lizzie went to a state school and moved back to our town after graduating. Because of this, I've been able to be physically present for all the big wedding moments, along with her pregnancy. I attended her baby shower, and since she lives just down the street, I see her, her husband, and their now 1-year-old daughter 4 to 5 times a week. I also babysit so they can go on date nights. We're very close. Emma and her family recently flew out for Lizzie's birthday party. During their visit, I watched both kids so their parents could have separate date nights. I loved getting to do more for my grandson and taking him on outings. I also spent one-on-one time with Emma. I thought it was a really nice visit. However, after Emma returned home, she didn't reach out nor respond to my messages for 2 weeks. When she finally did, I asked if everything was okay. She told me that being back in town made her realize how much I do for Lizzie and her husband. She said I'm far more involved in their lives and that I don't visit her enough. I reminded her that I don't have the money or the time off to fly out often. I wish I could see her and her grandson more, but Emma told me that I clearly have a favorite grandchild and I should spend more time with her son. I kept suggesting ways that I could be more present from a distance, but she dismissed them, insisting the only solution was for me to visit more. Eventually, I asked what she expected when she decided to start a family across the country. I'm so proud of her and all that she's accomplished, and I supported her move. But she knows my financial situation, and it's unrealistic to expect everyone to visit her when it's not financially feasible. It's one thing to express disappointment about not seeing each other more, but she can't expect me to uproot everything when I simply can't afford to. We ended the call, and I've tried to check in with her since, especially regarding her mental health, but she refuses to engage in any deeper conversations. Now she only talks about her day or my grandson. Emma told her father, my ex, who lives closer to her. He called me to say I was wrong to tell her that and should have just let her vent. Am I the jerk? Tell your ex that unless he's offering to help you financially to be there more, he needs to keep his mouth shut and stay out of it. Not the jerk. Why should you just have accepted her laying into you like that? She was being irrational and unfair, and you made that clear. She's probably simultaneously still irrationally upset, but now also embarrassed about it. Not the jerk. Your daughter put herself in this position. That's on her, not you. You spoiled her baby while she visited you, so that tells me if you lived near her, you would do the same thing. She should have stayed near you if she wanted that. Am I the jerk for breaking up with my girlfriend over her parents? I, 23 male, have been dating a girl for about 1 year and 3 months now. When we first got together, she warned me that her parents, mainly her father, was a bit crazy. Boy, was she right. When we first got together, everything was good, no issues with them. I heard good things from her that her parents liked me. Her dad is very straight and narrow type of guy. It's his way or the highway. He has a lot of control over her. She has a curfew and is not allowed to stay over whatsoever. Don't even think about it, which I can somewhat respect, considering she still lives at home, etc. She's not allowed to attend any of the weekend trips that my family and I go on, even though her parents are invited as well. There was one instance where he did say yes, that she could go on one camping trip with me and my family. What a mistake. We were lying in bed at night about to go to sleep. We have very limited service where we are, so text messages and phone calls come when they want to. She gets a text from her mother saying to call her ASAP, etc. We rush out to the road to try and gain better cell service for a call. She reaches her mother, and her mother tells her that she's here to pick her up. We've passed her by on the way out, but didn't even realize it was her. We meet up with her mother, and she says her father sent her to pick her up. We were about 5 hours from home. So here we are, thinking that something terrible has happened for her to drive 5 hours, only to find out that he just wants her home and regrets saying yes to letting her go. We stood there and talked for roughly 2 hours. Her mother insulted me multiple times for reasons as dumb as the genre of music I like. Let me remind you, Her parents were invited on this trip but chose to stay home. They both end up staying with me and my family for the night. Her mother wakes up and leaves before the sun rises due to fear of embarrassment. She goes home later that weekend to find that her mother is in trouble with her father because she went up there and tried to get my girlfriend to come home, which would have gone against his word that she could go. Then my girlfriend was also in trouble for not listening to her mother. Sounds crazy, right? Just wait. Her mother has always been nice to me, making me coffee and sending me home with leftovers, etc. Her father has always been nice to me as well, even though he always has something to say behind my back to my girlfriend. Something as small as the vehicle I drive not being a high-quality, long-lasting Toyota. Just recently for Family Day, I invited her family up to my father's house to go ATVing. Something I've done on a few occasions, but they have never taken me up on my offer. This time they did. The morning of, when they were supposed to come, her dad says that he's not feeling well, which is fine, no pressure. He ends up saying he's going to pass, but that her mom can still go. He'll load the ATVs for her, and she and my girlfriend can go together. So the ATVs are loaded, the truck is packed, and they're ready to leave. At the last minute, he says this isn't a good idea because she's never towed this specific trailer with this truck. She's been driving big trucks and trailers for over 30 years. They owned a landscaping company together. She starts second-guessing herself and ends up bailing too, but she still decides to come up and ride one of our machines. The day goes by, we have an amazing time, and she goes home to find him in a fit of rage that she went without him, along with a lot of other stuff from past experiences with her. Nothing bad, she's a very good wife and mother. He's just a jerk. He ends up kicking her mother out for this, and she goes to stay at a friend's house. A few days go by and she comes back and they talk. My girlfriend overhears them talking about me, mainly him yelling while she just listens. He tells her that she emotionally cheats on him with me because of how nice and helpful she is to me, the coffee, leftovers, etc. Turns out he doesn't like that she's nice to me because I haven't put in the work. I'm not sure what that even means, and he can't explain it himself. I've helped them around their house many times, from yard cleanup to cooking dinner and breakfast. This is getting to the point where he's mentally mistreating all of us, and he's playing mental gymnastics to get them to listen to him and go by what he says. No one's allowed an opinion or an option. He recently said I'm not allowed at their place anymore, which is extremely hard on my girlfriend since she now has to do all of the driving. We live about an hour apart. In the past, he's complained that I don't come down enough. Now I'm not allowed at all, for next to no reason, other than that his wife is nice to me. They've stopped sleeping in the same bed, and he got mad at her for sleeping in the bed that I usually sleep in when I stay over, saying she's only sleeping in that bed because I did. When they both listen to him and abide by his crazy rules, the house runs smoothly. When they don't, it's like the sky is falling. There have been many instances like the ones I just explained over the years, according to my girlfriend. Her mother has been kicked out over a dozen times for things like this. Everyone she talks to is telling her to leave. Me, my family, her boss, her family, everyone. They all told her to leave. She won't, so I've given up trying with her. She recently booked a trip for her and my girlfriend to go to England to see her mother. Her dad has a big fear of airplanes, so he doesn't fly. Over the whole Family Day situation, he made her cancel the trip to England, saying if she didn't, then she didn't love him. I should also mention that my girlfriend's mother's mother is currently being treated for cancer, and she hasn't seen her in over 10 years. She ends up canceling the trip, and my girlfriend is devastated over it, rightfully so. Anyways, there's a lot more to this. This is just a drop in the bucket, but that's the main juicy stuff. Things are okay between her and me, but she always seems to get sucked into his crazy narcissistic ways, saying she's a terrible daughter and that her mother is wrong for letting her date me, etc. I recently offered to let her move in with me to escape this, but she seems hesitant to leave them. I'm not going to try to make her do this, but frankly, I want absolutely nothing to do with her family anymore, and that's not healthy for either of us, I don't think. I feel bad for leaving her over family stuff, but I have to deal with these people for the rest of my life, and I just know I won't be able to do it. I feel lost and muddled on how to deal with this. I don't see us lasting much longer if she stays with her family because I won't deal with their stupid, small issues with us dating, mainly her dad. A lot of their marital issues are blamed on my girlfriend because her father is unapproachable on anything, so her mother does it for her, and that causes issues. Update. I took everyone's advice and set my girlfriend down for a chat before making any permanent decisions. Despite being on Reddit asking about breaking up with her, I'd actually like to keep her around. I did what a lot of you suggested. I explained how I'm feeling about the situation with her parents and how much it puts on me. I told her that I don't see a happy future for either of us if things don't take a drastic change. I explained that when I look at my life, the most stressful part is her parents, and it shouldn't be that way. I also told her I don't feel good about bringing future kids into this situation and that my days shouldn't be spent worrying about her and her family constantly, waiting for the next big blow-up. She was super upset that I was at the point of ending it with her, which reminded me how she made me promise I wouldn't leave her because of her parents, which made me feel guilty. I told her that I love her and I don't want to hurt her, but I also need to protect myself too. She said she completely understands, and that's the same reason she wants to move out, that she loves her parents but has to protect herself. She apologized several times for letting it go this far and dragging me into it. I could tell that she felt absolutely horrible, which made me feel horrible in return. Something must have finally flipped for her because she asked if the offer of moving in was still on the table, and I told her it absolutely was. I asked her why she changed her mind, and she said she could never look at her parents the same for being the reason she lost a good guy that she loves. She didn't want to go backward anymore, so she moved out, told her dad where he could stuff it, and I'm happy to say that we're unpacking her stuff and getting her settled in as I type this out. She's also agreed to severely limit contact with her parents, and any contact she chooses to have with them will have nothing to do with me. They will have no place in our lives as a couple unless we're both okay with it. With a father like that, I'm terrified that this isn't over. This feels like the start of a long and involved crazy dad saga. My boyfriend did not give me the first slice of cake. I'm 20 female and from Brazil, and here it's a tradition that at a birthday party, the person whose birthday is being celebrated gives the first slice of cake to their favorite person after everyone sings the birthday song. This week was my boyfriend's birthday, he's 24, and he had 3 celebrations, one with his birth family, one with his adoptive family, and one with friends, which was a surprise picnic I planned and organized. He has had a very difficult life, and his moms are really important to him. His adoptive mom saved him from starving as a kid and raised him, giving him a chance at life, and his birth mom fought hard against poverty, struggling to keep her kids well. So, of course, I never expected him to give me the first slice of cake at the family celebration. But then there was the picnic. I spent weeks planning it, reaching out to all of his childhood friends, making sure they could come. I stayed up until 2 a.m. the night before making his favorite cake, and I spent a lot of money on food, drinks, and gifts. I didn't do it for the first slice, of course, but I couldn't help thinking, now it's my turn. Turns out it wasn't. He has a best friend of many years. They're like brother and sister. They went through a lot together, like her losing her mom and him not having food at home as a teen. Even though they're so close, they don't see each other often now because they're so busy with life. So of course, he took the chance to show her some appreciation. She was so happy, and I understood the situation. He sees me every day and has the chance to honor me almost daily. He always makes me feel really loved, and he can't do that with her. I also understand he wanted to show her that his relationship with me doesn't change the fact that they're still like family. I'm not jealous because I know there's nothing romantic going on between them. But I couldn't help but feel a bit, I don't know, disappointed, maybe unappreciated. I feel like I can never be the most important person in the room. We always talk about getting married, so this was just strange. Also, he did this in front of everyone, in front of all of our mutual friends who don't really know her and what she means to him, so I also felt a bit embarrassed. Update 6 hours later. My boyfriend and I have very different energy levels, so I usually leave hangouts earlier than him, which is what happened today. I left, posted this on Reddit, took a shower, and started painting my nails. About 3 hours after I left, my boyfriend called me and he was crying. Note that he doesn't have Reddit and he doesn't speak English, so he hadn't seen my post and I hadn't shared my feelings with him yet. He called me, absolutely pouring his heart out, saying he'd had the best day of his life and he loved me so much for organizing it. He spent the next 15 minutes thanking me for every single thing I did. Then he brought up the cake slice. He told me that throughout his entire life, since he had always celebrated birthdays at his mom's houses, he had never given the first slice to his best friend, despite everything they went through together. He said that my empathy in letting him do this was honestly one of the most special things I had ever done for him. He shared that his best friend had been going through some important stuff and he hadn't been there for her because of work in college. She had been feeling very left behind, and him giving her the cake made her cry because it was the first time he had done that, and she finally felt like she wasn't forgotten. Because I put so much effort into his birthday, he asked me to rest. He told me that the next week would be entirely for him to show me appreciation. He asked me to please not sabotage his efforts to pamper me because I feel like I don't deserve it. He said he was going to use his savings to take me out and surprise me throughout the week. I know him well enough to expect love notes, surprise visits, and maybe even a song written for me. He also invited me to spend the week at his place. His family will be at the beach, so we'll have the house to ourselves. so he can cook me dinner and give me one of his hour-long massages, my favorite. After he said all that, I took the opportunity to tell him how I felt earlier. He listened quietly, and when I was done, he apologized. He said he hadn't realized I felt that way, and that it wasn't his intention. He thought the first slice wouldn't mean as much to me as it did to his best friend, so he decided to honor her in that way and then honor me differently, with my Princess Week. He understood how I felt though, and apologized anyway. We talked a bit more and got over it pretty quickly. The call ended with us gossiping about the day. Two friends of ours, who don't get along very well, apparently went home together, half drunk after I left. Man, I love gossip. Maybe today is the day Reddit realizes that emotions are complicated, and life is too. Small moments don't define a relationship or someone's feelings. It's how we react to them and handle the situation that does. I love my boyfriend, and he loves me too. That doesn't mean he doesn't have others in his family. It also doesn't mean I'm not allowed to feel sad. I have the right to feel what I feel and to be welcomed and validated in those feelings. The healthy relationships are more disorienting for me to read than the ones with psychos melting down on Ring cameras and getting arrested. Like, people live like this? Right? Wait, he wasn't cheating with the other woman he gave the slice to? No plates were smashed? He appreciates and loves her? What side are we on? Am I the jerk for telling my sister her miracle baby isn't special? I feel like a complete jerk even writing this, but I'm seriously at the end of my rope. My sister, who's 32, has been trying to have a baby for a long time. She's went through multiple rounds of IVF, and finally she gave birth to a healthy baby boy a couple of months ago. I, 27 male, was really happy for her at first, and I know how much this meant to her. But ever since the baby came, she's been acting like she's the first person in the history of the world to have a baby. Every single conversation turns into a speech about her miracle baby and how hard her journey was. I get that it wasn't easy, but she's milking it for everything. It's gotten to the point where she expects everyone to put their lives on hold for her and the baby. For example, my parents were planning a trip for their anniversary, and she guilted them into canceling it so they could help with the baby. She even asked me to take time off work to come over and support her, which really just meant running errands and cleaning her house. The breaking point came at a family dinner last weekend. She went on, again, about how blessed she is, how she's the only one who understands real struggle, and how no one can relate to her unless they've been through the same thing. After 30 minutes of this, I just couldn't take it anymore, and I said something like, "We get it. You had a baby. That's great. But you're not more important than anyone else. You're not the only person who's ever had a kid." She immediately started crying. My mom called me cruel, and now half my family is mad at me. They all think I'm heartless and jealous or something. I'm not. I just feel like she's using this baby thing to manipulate everyone. Am I the jerk? Edit. My sister doesn't have a baby daddy in the picture. She went into IVF without one, which means she's handling everything on her own. This situation forces her to lean heavily on our parents, me, and the rest of the family for support. While I understand she needs help, it can feel overwhelming when it seems like all the responsibility falls on us. To make matters worse, she has much more money than the rest of the family and often insists we help pay for everything. I want to be supportive, but it's tough when it feels like it's all about her and the baby. Edit 2. I have my very own toddler, and it feels pressuring having to balance time with my own kids' needs and hers because she insists I leave my job on multiple occasions and that I leave my toddler to my wife. She is also unfair because my wife has always had me by her side whenever I'm off work. Not the jerk. It might have come off as a little rude, but once you start asking people to cancel vacations to help you raise your baby, you can't be surprised when people have this sort of reaction. I'm testifying against my sister to make her lose custody of her stepkids. I'm not going to be shy about this. My sister sucks. She's a horrible, self-centered person who thinks that she's the main character. She's not only a horrible person, she is a step monster. She married this guy who's a real pushover 3 years ago. He has 2 kids who are 10 and 6. My sister constantly complains about them, saying things like the 6-year-old is gross because he sips too loudly or has stained clothing. For the love of goodness, he's 6. That's what a kid is supposed to do. And she's so mean to the 10-year-old. She acts straight up jealous of her. I've caught her taunting her that daddy loves my sister more than her. She is horrible. I've straight up called her out after trying to talk to her a million times. At Christmas, she was saying that it would be nice to have the kids there, and I said, "Why? You hate them." This was when everything was almost over and she had been bragging to her friends that her husband had spent more on her than on his daughter. A fight ensued. My parents reprimanded me, but my cousins took my side and called her out, noting every moment that they had witnessed her being horrible. Her husband obviously took her side and said that she was a wonderful stepmother and that the kids love her, to which I said that was a lie, as I had consoled them countless times after they were taunted by my sister. They left and we haven't talked since. One day I was running errands and run into my step-nephews who were with their mother. I had never met her, and honestly, she is wonderful. We decided to have some coffee. While the kids were playing, she asked me how her kids behaved, etc. I said they were wonderful, and then I just spilled the beans on my sister, how awful she was, what I've heard her say to the kids, the inaction of her ex-husband. By the end, she was horrified. She said the kids didn't like her, but she always chucked it up to my sister being the new woman in their father's life. She said the kids never really said anything even when she asked. I then told her that I was very concerned for the kids, as my sister had straight up told the 10-year-old that it would be better if she disappeared from her father's life. Their mother saw red and asked me if I'd be willing to testify. She said that this was unacceptable and she would be taking their father to court again. I said I would recount the events that I witnessed and could ask my cousins who witnessed a lot too. She was very grateful. I asked my cousins who were all willing to recount the events. Word got around to my parents, and by extension my sister, and they've been calling me the biggest jerk on the planet who would betray family on a whim. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. Clearly, the kids' well-being is being neglected by their father. I'm normally not a fan of people injecting themselves into someone else's relationship, but you're looking out for these kids, and there's nothing wrong at all with that. Well, what would you do in this situation? Would you testify against your own sister or not? Please let us know. I'd do a lot more to her than just testify. Take a pay cut and lose benefits or be fired? Okay, have fun reworking your entire system. I work as a logistical consultant and have done so for the past 7 years. Most of my work is short-term contracts to update and optimize logistical systems for manufacturers and delivery businesses. I do have a couple of long-term contracts with repeat clients, and this story is about one such client. I got a job offer 6 years ago with a friend who inherited his family's machine shop. His father is a brilliant man, but not business savvy in the slightest, and the entire business was teetering on bankruptcy. My main job there was optimizing the production method for both existing contracts and future contracts. This was my first long-term contract, but I had been doing similar work for a few years and had gotten a couple of patents for producing some intricate parts before getting this job. In the contract negotiation, I made sure that any patents developed in the course of my work would be retained completely by me. The contract term was 5 years before reevaluating. It took a lot of time and work, but the company became rather successful, especially considering the condition my friend inherited it. Then 2020 happened, and after about a year of trying to stay afloat, my friend sold to some entrepreneur who wanted to get into the industry. In the months prior to the sale, the new boss was trying to familiarize himself with the business. Being in charge of logistics, I had given him a tour of the place and informed him of the patented methods used. This was happening right around the time my contract reevaluation was supposed to happen, and I asked whether I'd be negotiating with him or the new boss. He realized I didn't want to be stuck in a contract I would negotiate with him if he wasn't going to be my boss, and he assured me that he'd make sure my new contract would be negotiated with the new boss. The new boss started restructuring and laying off most salaried employees and cutting benefits like vacation and sick time as soon as the acquisition went through. I was not a fan of this new boss since he, in addition to this, was a jerk with zero experience and refused to acknowledge that fact. He did not understand what exactly my job was and thought it was unnecessary. I could tell he was just waiting for my contract negotiation. Fast forward about a month into the new regime and enter the crap show that was my negotiation. He was of the opinion that I was overpaid and inefficient. He all but said that I was unnecessary. My only options were to either essentially become a part-time contractor with an effective 70% cut to what I was making and none of my benefits, or be fired. When he gave me the ultimatum, I was beyond shocked. I immediately contacted my lawyer, and he told me the contract was absolutely insulting. Needless to say, I chose option number 2. Over the course of my time there, I had filed 2 patents that were extensively used by the company. With shorter contracts, I typically negotiate for better royalty rate than benefits or salary, but since this business was both with my friend and supposed to be long-term, I opted for negotiating benefits. About a week after the negotiations were completed, I told the new boss we'd need to discuss royalties before my term was officially over. He was not amused and was dismissive. After enough pressing from me, we had a meeting with lawyers present. What's important to know is that one patent is extensively used in the production of an electrical device for the company's biggest client. The royalties deal written up by my lawyer was the standard one I use for most companies, which is more expensive than my previous contract. New boss was shocking and fuming, saying how this was completely ridiculous and bordering on extortion, considering how much more expensive it would be and how not being able to use the patent would mean he'd lose clients while shifting production methods. I told him that he had in total 6 months of time to figure out what it was that I did and to familiarize himself with the company and the fact that I had told him when I gave him the tour that I was the patent holder. He also could have asked for a quote and my usual rates. The first meeting ended very abruptly after this, and 3 days later, he came with an insulting counteroffer where I'd be employed again, but with far less benefits than I originally had. I told him I don't want to work for him, and that he either pays my rate or change production methods. This would entail replacing a lot of tooling and equipment and retraining workers. He threatened to sue and got rather belligerent, so I told him I'd see him in court if that was the case. Otherwise, he knows my offer and has my contact info. He quickly realized that even in the unlikely event of the court deciding in his favor, that he'd still lose a lot of money in legal fees. After the meeting, I told my lawyer to draft a cease and desist and have it ready for when the contract expires. New boss started looking for my replacement. He had not stopped production or even told the clients about it during this time period. The day after my term ended, I sent the cease and desist letter and production stopped. He lost most clients, most employees just jumped ship, and last week, he declared bankruptcy. Hope he learned his lesson. Never do over the logistics guy. Boyfriend is trying to force me to get rid of my horse. Me, 24 female, and my boyfriend, 26, have been dating for around 9 months. I've been riding horses since around 4 years old when I started taking lessons. When I was 10, I started helping out this girl at the stable with her horse, Lady. At 12, she told me she had to sell due to time and interest and asked me if my parents wanted to buy Lady. Luckily for me, my parents were able to buy her and she's been mine ever since. She's my bestest friend and I love her a lot. When I started to date my boyfriend, I was very honest with the fact that my horse takes a lot of my time and he was fine with this. When single, I could spend like 3 to 4 hours a day in the stable, but as we started dating, I cut this down to about 3 hours every other day, as this is roughly how long it takes for me to do all of the cleaning, preparing food, and riding. Also, most of my friends are at the stable, which obviously means that this is also social for me. The other days I would not ride and try to spend less time talking, which would make it about an hour. After about 6 months, he told me I spent too much time at the stable and I should prioritize my relationship more, and somehow his family got involved and was saying that it was strange to prioritize the way I did. I wasn't comfortable with this, but I am a bit of a pushover, so I agreed. At first, this meant cutting down time at the stable, but it has evolved into cutting down riding days. Now I ride about 2 days a week, and the rest I'm simply there to do the basics. All of this as quickly as I can, because otherwise I know he'll be annoyed and upset for days and give me the silent treatment. I know my horse isn't really suffering from not being ridden as often as before, but I still feel very guilty that I'm always rushing around her. Then last night, he told me it was time to sell Lady. I laughed at him and asked if he was serious. He was. I told him no, and he said I needed to start prioritizing this relationship more, and I said that I've done nothing but prioritize this relationship. We argued about it, and he apparently thinks I can just put her down as she's old anyways. I was furious at this and told him that was absolutely not happening and I would never sell her. He said that any reasonable person would sell or put down their horse in favor of their boyfriend, and the only reason I wouldn't is because I only hang out with other insane horse people. So I come to you, reasonable people of Reddit. Am I the jerk? Edit. So I never expected this to get as much attention as it did. I'm very overwhelmed and thankful for all of your kind comments and messages. I'm currently sitting with Lady in her stable crying my eyes out because this has been such a wake-up call for me. My boyfriend left to visit his family and friends in his old town earlier today before I posted, so for everyone worried, all is well for now, and I will handle this ASAP. First, I need to go home and sleep. Thank you all for being wonderful. Not the jerk. Your boyfriend sounds controlling. You've worked hard to compromise with him, but he keeps moving the line until he eventually gets everything he wants, and you have sacrificed everything important to you. A lot of horrible partners start this cycle by trying to isolate their partner. You have a whole support network at the barn, and he wants you to give all that up in addition to your horse, who is like a member of your family. This is super messed up and a huge red flag. I know it really hurts, but be grateful he's shown you who he really is and how he doesn't prioritize or frankly care about your feelings and well-being. I'd run, not walk away from this guy. He sees something you love and wants to take it away from you. That should be enough right there to warrant a red flag, but I really love this comment about the support system. Keep them around you and leave him. So many red flags. OP, this guy is not the one for you. A supportive partner encourages your interests and appreciates that that's what makes you happy. This one is just me, me, me. You deserve better. Yup, think of how much happier you'd be if you had a boyfriend who shared your love for horses. Your boyfriend doesn't love you the way you are. He's trying to change you. Don't let him. Stay who you are and do what you love doing. Your relationship should not get in the way of that. Well, what do you think? Should OP pick her horse or her boyfriend? Please let us know. I think we need to put down that boyfriend, to be honest. Guy sounds really sick. Am I the jerk for telling my brother-in-law it's cringe to continue saying he's child-free whenever I ask him to watch my son? Oh, here we go. My wife, who's 27, and I, who am also 27, have a 4-year-old son. We've been having an incredibly busy work schedule over the last 2 years, and family's been doing a great job helping out with our son. We usually have members of my in-laws take our son whenever we have a work trip or a shift coming up. From my wife's mom to her sister to her dad, except for my 31-year-old brother-in-law, wife's brother. He's made it clear he is just not interested in spending time with his nephew. Keeps saying that the reason for that is because he's actually child-free. For so many emergencies, he has turned me and my wife away when we begged him to watch our son, and he didn't even budge or apologize for his attitude. It all came to a head a couple days ago. I had a work meeting while my wife was out of town and my in-laws were attending a wedding, so no one was free to watch my son except for brother-in-law. I showed up to his place and told him I was desperate for help and needed him to just watch my son for 2 hours. He refused, even suggested I take him with me to work, but that's not a good suggestion. I begged him and he just said no. I had enough. I confronted him and asked why. Does he not like his nephew? And he just threw it out that, no, it's just that I'm child-free, excuse, which made me lose it. I told him to just stop because it's cringe of him to keep saying this and using it as an excuse to be unsupportive of me and his sister and cold towards his nephew. I told him he should really do better and stop being so negative, but he got mad and said I had no right to disrespect his lifestyle and choices, but it's the attitude that gets me. We had an exchange of words where he said my son isn't his responsibility whatsoever. Then I left. He complained to my in-laws and they called me out for disrespecting their son and treating him like that. They insisted that he's not responsible for my son and I shouldn't expect so much from him, then guilt him about it. They wanted me to apologize and my wife said I should, but he was about as helpful and supportive as a rock, so I decided I will take my time before I consider apologizing. Am I the jerk? You're the jerk. For goodness sake, how entitled are you? Your brother-in-law has been clear about who he is and what he won't do. But because that's not convenient to you, you feel you can disrespect it. This is a failure of your organization. How can you guys not have a sitter? I'm a single dad and never ended up in your situation because I planned for it. I bet they don't have any paid sitters on their roster. I mean, how on earth could you not want to spend 8 hours babysitting a fussy toddler for free because they're just so cute? Right? Who wouldn't want to provide free babysitting 24/7 when the toddler is this cute? Who? Not serious. You're the jerk. I don't care about the child-free thing, OP. What he said isn't the problem because he doesn't need an excuse to not babysit someone else's kid. He's your kid and your responsibility. Even if you have emergencies, is it so hard to pay for a sitter? The entitlement and irresponsibility here is jaw-dropping. You are not arranging proper childcare for your son, although it's shockingly easy. You are not planning for emergencies. You are forcing someone who is A, unpaid, B, unwilling, and C, unhappy to babysit your son without consideration to their needs and wants. You are taking others' free work for granted. You are disrespecting people who gave you tremendous favors. You are blaming others for your lack of planning. You are disrespecting a reasonable boundary that was expressed multiple times. That's what good aunts and uncles do, especially ones who don't have their own kids because they have so much free time to just sit around. Why wouldn't they want to spend it with their siblings' toddlers for free? Not serious. Side note, as someone who gets paid to hang with toddlers and doesn't have my own kids, toddlers are cool. Would not kick it with them without compensation. Compensation mandatory. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or brother-in-law? Please let us know. Sometimes people start having kids and all of a sudden an entitlement switch just flips on in their brain. Am I the jerk for telling my dad that I don't want him walking my cousin down the aisle? My 16 female cousin, 23 female, is getting married in November. She's the only daughter of my dad's brother. For some context, we don't get along at all. She bullied me while growing up, and after my uncle passed, she tried to steal my dad. He never allowed it, but made time for both of us. But to this day, my cousin still says that I was a jerk for not letting her have a parental figure, which is not true. Neither my mom or dad allowed her to mistreat me, but there's so much a parent can do. She used to do it while they weren't watching too, and I was too afraid to tell them because I could see how important it was for my dad to have a relationship with her, so I kept quiet. While the bullying decreased, it never went away. She still makes fun of me because I'm single, because I'm dumb, etc. When she got engaged, she excluded me from the bridal party, and it wouldn't matter if it wasn't for the fact that she included the rest of the family, her mom's side and my brother's. My dad found this suspicious, and things got a lot worse with her funny comments that I'll probably attend alone, that she didn't think the bridesmaid dress would be flattering on me because of my size, etc. She took my parents to dinner last week and asked my dad to walk her down the aisle, and I don't know what excuse he gave her, but after that, he came to my room and asked me if I would be okay with this. I was honest. I said no. I told him that she made most of my life heck. Even before my uncle passed, and since I was his only daughter, I thought it would be an experience between us. But I knew she would ask, and I only wanted to make my feelings clear, but that at the end of the day, the decision was his, and I'll accept whatever he decides because I know how important she is for him. He told me that he loved her as a daughter too, and that was it. Well, my dad told her no, and now my cousin is blaming me, telling everyone that I forced him, that I was a jealous little jerk, and that if I don't fix it, then I wouldn't be welcomed at her wedding. My mom and my aunt sided with her that it was a low blow from my part, and most of her family is saying that it wasn't fair. My mom called me yesterday and told me that I should have lied because this was an important moment for her. My brothers told her that if she didn't stop the harassment, then they'll drop from the party too, and I can't help but think that I caused a big mess. Not the jerk, and I'm glad your brothers have your back. To be honest, the biggest jerk in this story is your mother, closely followed by your cousin. Absolutely. OP, your mom shouldn't back the bully. Show her this post and tell her to be better. She's a jerk, unlike your dad and brothers. Also, you didn't cause drama. Your bully cousin did. Do not go to that wedding. Not the jerk. Yeah, honestly, forget the wedding. Why would you want to go and celebrate someone who treats you so horribly? Why does there appear to be so many in this family that think it's normal or appropriate when an adult complains to others in their family about a teenage cousin? I'd skip the wedding too. Even if the bride got her way, she'd still just spend the whole night going on about how terrible OP is and almost ruined her wedding. Am I the jerk for making my girlfriend pump her own gas? Since me, 28 male, and my girlfriend, 27 female, started dating, anytime she drove and had to get gas, I would pump it for her. Well, last week she took me to work because her car does better in the snow than mine. When she came to pick me up from work, she was wearing pajamas, which were short with a long sleeve button-up. She even wore her house shoes. I was embarrassed for my coworkers to see her like that, so when she stopped for gas to teach her a lesson, I told her my back was sore and she could pump it. She said it was too cold and she wanted me to do it. She's the moron who wore shorts. I stood my ground. She pumped her own gas, but wouldn't talk to me during the drive. We passed a sushi place on our way home, so I asked her to stop. She said no, but I kept persisting and she finally said okay. She told me I would have to run in, so I did. When I came out, she had left. I told my brother because I needed a ride home. He gave me a ride home, but said I was a jerk and I deserved it. If there's any interest, I can update with what happened when I got home, but it doesn't seem super relevant to my question, so I don't see the need to add it. Edit. Update. First, to answer questions. She pays for her own gas. She didn't get out of the car, but she doesn't have tinted windows, and I didn't expect her to dress up. I did expect her to not look like a bum though. I'm still reading comments, so I'll add stuff that gets asked a lot to this, and I'll try to respond to others. Now for what happened when I got home. We live in a fairly rural area, and I work about 35 to 45 minutes away. Apparently, my brother called my mom, who then called my girlfriend and told her what I had said. This did include me calling her a moron and saying how embarrassed I was. When I got back home, my girlfriend had moved all of my clothes and belongings into the junk room. I tried to talk to her, but she locked herself in our room and ignored me. When I finally got her to talk to me, she basically listed everything I've done wrong in our relationship. This past week has been horrible. She wouldn't take me to work when it was snowing, so I had to take myself, and my car got stuck twice. I missed 2 days of work because of her pettiness. I really didn't think I was the jerk here, but I tried to justify and explain myself. I did admit I was trying to teach her a lesson, and we broke up. When I got home from work, she had all my belongings in boxes by the front door, and I guess that's that. I really don't think I was the jerk, but obviously that's why I posted here. Everybody that wanted us to break up, you got what you wanted. I'm not sure if my update is too relationship based, so if it gets taken down, I apologize. You're the jerk, OP, for more than one reason. 1. If you were embarrassed by what she was wearing, that's a you problem. It's not up to you to teach anyone a lesson. 2. She was doing you a favor by carting your ungrateful self to work in the first place. Regardless of what she was wearing, you think it was your responsibility to teach her a lesson about anything? You should have pumped the gas for her. 3. Not content with shaming her appearance and taking it upon yourself to teach her a lesson that was not your responsibility to teach, you also demanded she stop to get you food, though I note with interest you weren't so concerned about her appearance then. I love that she drove off and left you. Your brother is correct. She didn't deserve that treatment from you, and you don't deserve her. You're the jerk. She was doing you the favor picking you up at work, and you thought, what if I publicly humiliate her and force her to freeze while she pumps gas? I hope that when you got home, she broke up with you. Entitled mom shreds my $30 card because I wouldn't give it to her 10-year-old son. I, 21 male, was at the local game shop today to sell my Magic the Gathering card. This happened yesterday. I had just finished talking to the owner to sell my card when Entitled Mom walked up to the counter I was at with her son. Entitled Mom, you should give that card to my son. You are too old to play with cards. Me, ma'am, if you had approached me earlier, I would have traded or sold the card to him, but I've already made a deal with the store. No, you're an adult. You should just give this card to my son. At this point, I look at her son. He's a kid. I should also mention that the card I am selling is a foil Olivia Crimson Bride showcase. For those that don't know, this card is kind of bomb chicka wow for a magic card. Me, ma'am, how old is your son? Entitled Mom, he's 10. How old are you? Me, I'm 21. I don't think this card is appropriate for his age. I show her the card just to make my point. No, it's fine. Just give it to him. Me, as I already said, I can't do that, as I've already committed to selling this shop my card. Here's the store owner. He cuts me off. Owner, ma'am, if you want this card, you can buy it from us. No, if my son can't have this card, then you can't. At this point, she grabs the card from my hand, then all I hear is rip. I look at the woman and the torn card in her hands. I now start ripping into her, losing it. While I'm doing this, the store owner calls the cops. They arrive 5 minutes later. First thing the cops do is separate me and Entitled Mom before getting our statements. The owner also decides to pull the video of the incident. After the police have talked with me and the owner, they're starting to talk with Entitled Mom. Once they finish talking with her, they walk her out of the store, and one of the officers talks to me and the owner. He tells us that this woman is going to be escorted from the premises, and if the owner wants, they will be trespassed and no longer allowed at the store. This is when the owner says that he would like to do that, and that the woman has caused issues for him in the past. The cop also says that the woman has been given a ticket for destruction of private property and disturbing the peace. The owner of the store then tells me that he will be going after her in court. He also gave me the money for my card, so that way he can add it to the amount he's trying to go after her for or claim it on insurance. He told me that he's going to try and sue her for harassment because she has done this in the past, the value of the card that she destroyed, and any legal fees needed to take her to court. Just married? Mother shall come stay. Mother dearest is insane. It was a bit of a ride when I got married. Husband is British, I'm Australian, and we live in England. Hence, all my loving and crazy family came from Oz for the big day. I'm one of 4 kids, and my family are breeders, whereas husband's family is small and significantly less crazy. They all came in dribs and drabs for our December wedding, leaving the warm tropical Aussie climate for -3 Celsius and December snow. Key information is that my mom buzzed off when I was 3 because she was tired of being a mom, so I was raised by the barrel-chested, swearing, but adorable pirate that is my father. Mother has the emotional maturity of a toddler and genuinely believes the world and her children adore her. We do not. Back to the wedding and the BS she pulled. We had organized events for the Australian contingent for the 2 weeks before the wedding, but not much for after, as we were going to be newly married. I don't think I need to expand, because most people understand that newlyweds generally want to spend time together. She arrived 3 weeks before the wedding and is annoyed that she is staying, for free, at my husband's parents' house, where my brother and his wife and daughter were also staying. She wanted to stay at my house, like my sister, who was my maid of honor. This was obviously ignored as she stresses me out, so she sat in the garden of my in-laws' house and pouted like a child until we left, then made passive-aggressive posts on Facebook about being ignored and unloved after traveling so far, which I pettily laughed at because not a single person commented. Wedding day arrived. I wrote on an old account about her actions on the day before and day of our wedding. Namely, she tried to get back with my dad, who was definitely not interested, and then wore pajamas to our wedding reception. But it is what happened after that just irks me. She'd been staying with my in-laws for 3 weeks. She knew husband and I were going on our honeymoon the weekend after the wedding. She then asked the day after we were married for the keys to our house, as she was going to house sit while we were away. You what now? No, you are not accessing my house when I am not there. She then cries about how she booked to come to England for 8 weeks because otherwise the cost of the tickets wasn't worth it. Again, what? All my other family had left the week after the wedding, except my brother and his wife, who instead traveled to London to see friends, but they were still not coming back to see me. I point blank told her that she wasn't coming to my house while I wasn't there. Did I mention I got married in December? So Christmas is around the corner. She plays the family card about how she has never spent a Christmas with me and she will stay in a hotel, but just wants to be with me on the day. I okay this. This is acceptable. Well done on doing a reasonable and rational thing, mother. But I did point out to her that the reason we didn't spend Christmas together was because she chose to buzz off on a yacht, so it's on her. You know what wasn't acceptable? The day we got back from our honeymoon, she rocked up at the house and didn't leave for 2 weeks. Just what every husband wants on their return from their honeymoon. The world's most entitled and awful mother-in-law crashing their house and leaving fertility candles all over the joint while saying we are jerks because we won't talk about our private lives with her. She joined us at my in-laws' house for Christmas. It started fine until on Christmas Eve I got a major case of stomach flu and started throwing up every 20 minutes. The first time I was sick, my mother-in-law rushed to the bathroom with water, a cool compress for my head, and made sure I was okay. My own mother didn't get up from the sofa. I spent Christmas Day in bed, in agony with horrible cramps and regularly throwing up. My mother-in-law and husband took it in turns to check on me and keep me company. My mother only came to see me once, after Christmas dinner, to complain that my mother-in-law gave my husband the Yorkshire pudding that had been made for me, when she, as the real guest, should have been offered it. If I'd been able to throw up on her, I would have. But sadly, I was just painfully retching at that point. I feel for my husband, I truly do. The poor man hid in our bedroom for 2 weeks, only venturing out when I told him the coast was clear. No stars, do not recommend. My girlfriend demands to wear high heels, knowing how it makes me feel. To start, I'm going to mention that I'm your typical 5'6" short guy. I can't stand myself for it. I'm openly insecure about it and have exhausted all solutions to fix the issue. I met my girlfriend 6 months ago. She met my family and they embraced her right away. My sister invited her to her wedding and mentioned including her in the wedding photos. I asked my girlfriend what shoes she was going to wear, and she showed me a pair of high heels that would have basically made her look 2 times taller than me. I asked if she could consider wearing sandals instead, since there were going to be photos and I didn't want to look like a gnome standing next to her. She called me silly and brushed off my concerns, which was not appreciated. The day of the wedding, I hid her pair of high heels. She only has one set in the apartment because she moved out all of the old ones after I asked her to. She tried looking for them and really seemed to think something strange happened. I started telling her to hurry up so we could get to the venue on time, and she ended up wearing flat sandals as replacements. Everything went well, and I gave her high heels back once we got home. She was shocked when she saw me holding them. I admitted hiding them for the reasons I stated above, and she got mad at me and said that I shouldn't have done that and forced her to wear sandals that completely didn't match with the dress. She kept saying I got what I wanted, but she will forever look awkward in those photos wearing those sandals. I do think she had every reason to be upset with me, but what was I supposed to do after I made my wishes clear and she brushed them off, knowing full well how I felt about those high heels? So, am I the jerk? I really thought of it as a harmless move, and I think she might have overreacted. You're the jerk. You need to deal with your insecurities yourself. After being told no, you don't get to force her to do what you want. Your feelings are not more important than hers. Exactly. Just because you made your wishes clear doesn't mean your wishes get granted. You're the jerk big time. You have no business deciding what she wears. You're the jerk, OP, because your behavior was underhand and very controlling when someone said no to you. You took matters into your own hands, and it would make me wonder what else you would stoop to when you don't get your way. If I was your girlfriend, I'd be having some serious thinking to do. I wouldn't have any serious thinking to do. It would be over. I'd pack my high heels and go far away from him. To be honest, I probably would have left him after his first attempt at making me get rid of all my heels. That's why she only had one pair to begin with. Huge, you're the jerk. Maybe she wishes she had a boyfriend who was more secure or taller. Maybe she should go get one. Dated 3 guys in your height range. Each relationship ended because they were so insecure about their height, and especially next to me. Don't date people taller than you if you can't handle it. You're literally wasting her time with this relationship. You're the jerk. What were you supposed to do? You were supposed to gracefully accept that sometimes the answer is no. You are not automatically entitled to what you want just because you feel some particular way. You overrode her decision about what to wear. You ignored her wishes. You engineered a sneaky little end run around her decision because you wouldn't accept a no. She is absolutely right. You're the jerk and you shouldn't have done that. But I had to hide them. It was the only way to get what I wanted, is not a good argument. Not the jerk. Really don't understand everyone insulting you. My husband and I are about the same height. He also doesn't like me wearing heels because it makes me taller than him. So guess what? Because I love and respect him, I don't wear heels. Sometimes I feel like people on here just can't stand men in general and are looking for someone to lash out at. OP, I hope you find a sweet girl who will consider your feelings over her shoes. Edit. Downvote me all you want. I have a wonderful husband and 3 awesome kiddos. Something tells me I'm much happier with my life than some of you are. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his girlfriend? Please let us know. I'm taller than Reddit boy and he doesn't seem to mind. How do you know? We've never even stood up before. Karen demanded I'd pay her kids for shoveling snow. Hello, I am one of many in the Midwest who's been hit by a lot of snow recently. I think we got like 14 inches where I live. I also want to preface this with I don't like kids. I just don't have any experience with them and haven't felt the need to produce any of my own. I'm 26, female. I work from home and received a knock on my door today. There was a group of like 4 12-year-oldish boys, and they had shoveled my driveway and sidewalk and were now requesting payment. They expected $15 each. I was really confused because they never knocked to ask if they could shovel my driveway. They just did it without asking and were expecting to be paid. I was really just dumbstruck and kind of said, I don't have any cash, and one of them pulled up a smartphone saying they had their mom's Venmo account. Again, me just being extremely confused, I started saying that I never agreed to pay them for anything. I was going to shovel my driveway at lunchtime. If they had asked, I would have said no. The kids got really upset and were like, "You're not going to pay us for our work?" But again, I didn't ask them to shovel my driveway. They started yelling at me, and I kind of just shut my door. Fast forward a couple of hours, their mom comes and knocks on the door. I open it, and she starts screaming at me for not paying their kids. Her points were, "It's only $60 and clearly not going to break you." Not wrong. They put in the hard work and should be paid. Her boys did a nice thing for me. She was proud of her boys for using their snow day to help people, and I was being really ungrateful and was going to make them turn to bad things next time. This is where I started to get kind of mad. I said that I never asked for their services, and it was nice that they shoveled my driveway, but I never agreed to pay them, and they really should have asked first. She insisted I pay them this time, and they'll ask in the future, but I don't want to reinforce bad behavior. Just because they're kids and people feel the need to let them get away with whatever, this is just not a cycle I want to perpetuate for these kids. You can't manipulate people into paying you for something that they never even asked for. I don't know. So far, I've refused to pay, and now I'm getting torched on Nextdoor for being a heartless monster who took advantage of them. Edit to add. A few people did not believe that I did not hear them shoveling. That's a fair thing to be suspicious of. So we did get 14 inches, but my husband and I shoveled yesterday. I'm not sure how much we shoveled versus what was left, but these kids did not shovel 14 inches of snow on their own. My home office is in the far back of our house, overlooking the backyard. It's the furthest back you can get and still be inside. And 90% of the time I have headphones on for meetings or music, so I really didn't hear them. Other question is my driveway length. It's a 2-car wide driveway, and it's probably 2 cars long. It's pretty standard, so I also felt like $60 was outrageous. Yeah, no, don't pay them a dime. They should have knocked and asked first, and the mother encouraging their behavior is just as disgusting. Tell the mother she should have the kids ask first before performing a service, then charge her $100 for that bit of common sense. My husband spends all of his time in the bathroom. I'm fed up. I, 27 female, am married to a man who's 34. Together, we have 2 kids, his daughter, who's 11, and a son we shared, who's 4. We've been married for 6 years. We have the older girl on a 50-50 schedule. The way it works out, she's at our house typically 3 to 4 nights a week, and then at her mother's house the same amount of time. A big area of conflict between my husband and I is that he feels he doesn't get enough time with his kid. We fight about it all the time, and I'm not really sure how to help him with this. He has been divorced for 10 years, and the custody schedule he has had been in place since long before I came into the picture. Years. Recently, he's been working only part-time, so he is off 100% of the time she is here, even if she's at school. And I took a second job so we could work the logistics financially, because I really wanted to help him with this. Our day-to-day schedule looks a lot like I get up with the kids and get them off to school, then I go to work. Since hubby has to be at work at 5 a.m. the days he works, I let him sleep in when he's off. The kids do aftercare after school until I get off from work. I go pick them up around 4:45 p.m. When we get home, hubby will talk to the kids about 10 to 15 minutes while I walk the dogs. Then my son will watch TV while my stepdaughter and I will do her homework. My husband will take this as an opportunity to go to the bathroom. Around 5:30 to 6, I'll start cooking dinner while stepdaughter and son play. At this point, every single day, my husband is still in the bathroom. Around 6:30, I will knock and tell him dinner is on the table. It takes him roughly 15 to 20 minutes to come out and eat with us. As soon as dinner is over, he excuses himself back into the bathroom. The kids and I clean the kitchen, and then they do their baths, etc. And around 8:30, I will knock again for him to come and tuck in our son. Husband and stepdaughter will hang out for about an hour while I do the house chores, and then I will go walk stepdaughter up to bed, and hubby will take his shower and go to bed himself. I walk the dogs again and then do the same. So the other night, my husband told my stepdaughter she didn't have to go to bed on time, and I pulled him aside and reminded him she had a big test the next day, and past performance has proven she needs effective rest the night before. After she went to bed, we had another all-out fight over how he feels it's my fault he never spends time with her. I yelled at him that if he didn't spend hours every night in the bathroom, he would have more time with her while she is awake. Obviously, something else is going on with him, because if he even cared about her, he would make time for her the way I do. He has not spoken to me in 4 days, even though I have tried to say I'm sorry so many times, so I know I really hurt him. I think I may be the jerk because I know this is the one thing he is most insecure about, and I threw it in his face in a moment of anger. So, am I the jerk? Not the jerk. You're working 2 jobs and doing the cooking and the bulk of the childcare, and he's in the bathroom? Unless you're putting laxatives in his food, I fail to see how any of this is your fault. OP: No, I'm not. But he does use about 2 full rolls of toilet paper every single day, so I assume he's going to the bathroom a lot. Either that, or he's watching a lot of Boom Chicka Wow Wow in there. If he's adamant nothing is wrong, he needs to see a doctor, as you've tried to make him do. Does he take his phone, a tablet, a book, or newspaper in there with him? OP: Yeah, he takes his phone and his iPad. So this man spends 3 to 4 hours in the bathroom every night, and then he complains that he doesn't spend enough time with his own daughter? Not the jerk. You are actually a saint to work with this situation for so long without throwing it into his face. Not the jerk. So on the days he doesn't work, he sleeps in and you work 2 jobs, cook, clean, walk the dogs, help kids with homework, and get them to bed? He spends 15 to 20 minutes at the beginning of evening to talk to his kids, then dinner? The rest of the time is in the bathroom? He's either watching stuff in there that you don't know about, or he has a serious digestive issue, which I would think he would have told you. Either way, he's not pulling his weight, he's letting you do it for him. Well, who do you agree with? OP or her husband? Please let us know.
Tell that boy stop watching that stuff in there. It ain't good for you.
Am I the jerk for not taking my wife's side and admitting that she overreacted? Some background. My wife is a makeup artist. She always has those heavy makeup looks on, which can be weird for me as a guy sometimes, but she loves it and enjoys it, so no problems there. Though my friends and family tend to make funny, lighthearted comments on her makeup, which she seems to take too seriously. Now the situation. My 27th birthday was a few days ago. We celebrated at a small diner with my guy friends and my wife. Now, my guy friends are brutally honest and make jokes and tease all the time. My wife knows how they are, so no surprises there. Anyways, my wife took a minute to use the bathroom to get her makeup fixed, as me and the boys were chatting. When she gets back, she asked me how she looked, and before I could answer, my friend Austin responded by jokingly saying, "Dang, you look like you just got out of the cancer ward with that heavy makeup on your face." The rest of the guys started laughing, and I just stared at my wife. She got very upset and started arguing with Austin about how awful he was. Others joined in, and there was so much commotion. I felt upset that they were fighting during my birthday celebration. I asked my wife to calm down and take a seat, but she asked if I was okay with my friends making fun of her. Austin said, "Come on, it was a joke." I threw my hands up and said that I admit that my wife overreacted because really it was a joke. She lashed out at me and took an Uber home. The party was cut short, and when I got home, we began arguing. I told her she overreacted and that she shouldn't take everything seriously, knowing how great she always looks, but she turned it into an argument about how I let my friends insult her and how I should have defended her and her integrity after I basically forced these guys upon her when she was the one who arranged for this entire celebration. She kept crying about getting humiliated and me dismissing her feelings and saying she overreacted. You're the jerk. These are your friends, not hers, so the brutal honesty and jokes should be aimed at you, not your wife. Brutal honesty is just a way of covering for being a jerk to people. Honesty without tact is cruelty. You definitely should have defended your wife. Your friend was needlessly cruel. Brutal honesty is another way to say bullying when it's habitual. It's fine if someone genuinely needs a wake-up call for how they've acted, but as a standard way of communicating unfiltered thoughts, it needs to be tempered with tact. Yup, every time someone on this subreddit uses the phrase brutal honesty, it's followed by a joke that is needlessly vindictive and just plain awful. Also, OP slips in at the end that the wife arranged the birthday dinner and the friends were forced on her. I'm wondering if OP's wife wanted a birthday dinner for 2 and OP insisted on including his mates. If yes, then that's one more reason OP is the jerk. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his wife? Please let us know.
You really might want to find some better friends, buddy boy. I've heard Amy Schumer tell better jokes than that one.
I shared how much I got on my check to my coworker and it caused serious problems. Okay, so a few weeks ago, I, 19 male, got my first job as a cashier at this store. My coworker Heidi got hired around the same time I did and we trained together on the same days too, so we're sort of friends. Anyway, we are up front at the register and we talk when it's not too busy and ask each other what hours we're working to know if we're going to have the same shift and about work. Then we were both excited to get our first pay. When we got our checks, Heidi said she got paid X amount, and I thought that was weird because I got paid more than her, and she worked more hours than me because I'm also in school. She asked me how much I did, and I told her. So then we're both confused. For us, it didn't make sense since we started on the same day. Then she was working more days than me. I don't know all the full details, but she talked to the manager and turned out we weren't getting paid the same. In the interview, he told her that the pay was X amount for the position, and obviously for me, he told me the pay was different than what she was told. It was crazy. She's mad at him now, but she says he's trying to work out the issue. I was mad for her, but when I told my mom, she told me I messed up big time. Telling coworkers how much you make, she says, is a big no-no at work for reasons like this. She said my boss gave me a job and I repaid him by causing him trouble with another employee, and it could affect his business. I don't know how, but even noticed it now at work. The manager is usually friendly, but now he's serious. He ignores me when he comes in. Only the shift lead helps me out, but before, he used to be open to talking with me. That's why I'm wondering if I'm the jerk for making these problems for him after he did me a favor by giving me a job. Am I the jerk? Edit. Me and Heidi have the exact same job title. I don't have any type of experience at all. It's my first job, and I've never done any type of thing like this before. That's why for me, it's weird I'd be paid more than her when she was working more hours. Also, she's worked at other places too. Not the jerk. Pay inequity is a huge problem, and it's against the law for employers to try to keep employees from discussing relative pay for this very reason, at least in the US. Employers will try really hard to instill the attitude that it's bad to talk about pay with coworkers, and your mother seems to have drunk the Kool-Aid on this one, but you should be doing it early and often. Not the jerk. You should always discuss pay with your coworkers because of this. Not discussing pay allows for this to happen. Discussing it gets it fixed. Your manager is being the jerk. Not the jerk. Your boss was underpaying your coworker, and by sharing your pay, she can hold them accountable. Your mom is completely backwards on this. That kind of thinking is why wages haven't gone up for crap relative to cost of living over time. Am I the jerk for snapping at a woman who kept interrupting my stylist? I had a hair appointment this morning for a cut, color, and blowout. I've been seeing my stylist for about 6 years now and absolutely love her. During my appointment, another client came in and my stylist greeted her and informed her that she was just finishing my foils and was getting ready to put me under the dryer and she would be ready for her in about 10 minutes. The woman sat down and right away started asking my stylist about a hair product. My stylist told her that they just started carrying it and they would talk about it when she was in the chair. Then she interrupted again and asked my stylist if she could go lighter or darker for her color. My stylist again told her that they would talk about it when she was in the chair and again told her she was almost done. She then interrupted a third time and started asking about brow waxing. My stylist told her again that they would talk about what services she wanted when she was in the chair and asked her to sit down. The fourth time she came over, I did not even give her the chance to speak. I just told her that she was being very rude and that she was interrupting my scheduled appointment with her questions and told her that she will have her own appointment to ask questions. But if she wouldn't mind, I would like to have the stylist finish my foils without her coming over and forcing her to stop working. The woman got upset and called me a nasty name and then left. My stylist was quiet and finished my appointment, but I could tell that she was upset. I did apologize to her, but I could tell she was off for the rest of my appointment. I was not trying to be mean, but it was getting annoying, and the woman had her own appointment where she could have discussed all these things with a stylist that did not interrupt my time with her. Am I the jerk for snapping at the woman? Not the jerk. In my opinion, there's a certain amount of etiquette in salons, and she was not following it. Not the jerk. Sounds like your stylist's boundaries weren't being respected. Not the jerk. And I'm wondering if the people saying otherwise would have been okay if your stylist had made a mistake or allowed certain foils to be in too long, resulting in an inconsistent dye job due to the constant interruption distracting them, because that would have cost her money as well, via having to fix their mistake and, depending on the customer, losing out on tips or future business. Like, just because she's in the open, it doesn't mean she isn't working. If OP was getting a massage, would those interruptions be acceptable? Absolutely not. This is no different. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or the other customer? Please let us know.
Hair salons really aren't the place that you want to tick people off in. You never know how many of us will be in there on a given day.
Am I the jerk for getting a 26-year-old woman kicked out of a 25 and under support group? My college has these support groups where students can, well, get help and support from each other in the presence of a counselor. The one I attend is supposed to be for people who are 25 and under who have moved for college and are going through adjustments related to moving. Most of the participants are, like myself, freshmen. There's one girl who's a graduate student, and she also moved to this town for college. She was 25 back when the semester began, so she was allowed to join. She mostly talks about adjusting to life here in the new town, finding a part-time job, struggling with her imposter syndrome, and about missing her boyfriend who is going to move to join her this year, etc. But the thing is, since she's older, it makes me, and some of the others, although we don't say it out loud, uncomfortable that she's there. It just seems like she has different issues with adjusting. I honestly don't know why she bothers coming, since it must be clear that none of us can relate, and most of us kind of find her issues are in a different stage of life. So anyway, I discovered that her birthday was in December, which means she turned 26 already, so I went to the counselor and told her this. Counselor said she was aware of it and that she had spoken to the 26-year-old, and she asked to be allowed to join in until the end of this semester, which ends in late March. I wasn't entirely happy with this since they are breaking the rules, so I let the admin section in charge of the support groups know this as well, and they emailed her and she doesn't come anymore. The counselor must have also got reprimanded or something, because the last session she made a statement regarding how she was sorry for allowing someone to violate our safe space. She didn't say anything to me directly, but during her statement she said she was only trying to help someone and that's why she did it. I couldn't help feel a little bad since, well, 26-year-old is also a new student and all that, but at the same time, she was breaking the rules. A couple of other students have mentioned that they missed her and even arranged to hang out with her. I thought that was weird since she's older. Why is this 26-year-old hanging out with 19-year-olds? She does hang out with people her own age, but I still find it strange. Am I the jerk? Edit. Honestly, I think if she was a male student, the responses would be way different. You're the jerk. Go out and touch some grass, friend. You're the jerk. You have no compassion for someone who is struggling. She turned 26 2 months ago. What difference does 2 months make? You clearly need to work on yourself and how to treat others. And when does it matter that you have to have friends exactly your age? People have friends of all ages. Doesn't mean it's odd. Seriously, your thinking is messed up. Edit. I've edited to respond to your edit. I would say exactly the same if it was a male person or a person of the opposite gender. My best friend is a man and I'm a woman. One of my close friends doesn't identify as anything, and they're 9 years younger than me. Another close friend is a female and she's 3 years younger than me. A friend at work is 20 years older than me. Age is just a number. You're a jerk for not allowing someone to get the help that they need because it's your way or no way. Bet OP only got rid of the girl because they don't like her, not because she's 26. How petty. OP, you're the jerk, and what you did was so petty and rude. She spoke to the counselor who agreed to let her stay the semester. You should have stayed out of it after that. Was it even your business in the first place? You massively overstepped. She only turned 26 2 months ago. People don't change unrecognizably during that time. If you didn't know her birthday, would you know she's already 26? She's new and struggling. The group must have meant so much to her. Being 26 doesn't mean you no longer deal with issues 25 and unders do. You say that her issues are in a different stage of life, but all of your examples work perfectly well for 25 and unders as well. That doesn't make sense. Based on what you wrote, everybody else had a good time around her. They missed her and wanted to hang out with her. If you're the only one having problems, maybe you're the problem. Edit. Alright, so I read the edit. What the heck? Nothing would change if she's a male student, because gender isn't the issue here. The issue is your attitude. More lemons. What do you mean they aren't free? I worked at a restaurant that didn't give out little things for free. For example, if you wanted a separate side of lemon for your iced tea or water, it would cost you 50 cents. I didn't put the rule in place, but I had to enforce it, and you know how that goes. A two-top came in, women in their 60s. They both ordered water and asked for a huge side of lemons. She even said, "Bring me a bowl of lemons, not some itty-bitty thing." I said no problem, but also warned it would cost 50 cents. They flipped out, berating me over a price I had no control over. Finally, I escaped and got them their water and a soup bowl full of lemon slices. They attacked the lemons, and no joke, used every single one. Their water cups were 75% lemon, 25% water, and ice. While I was in the back, they asked another server for more. As he was supposed to, he came to me and told me to ring them up for another side of lemons. I added it to their bill. Throughout dinner, they would flag down other servers or busboys, asking for more lemons. These coworkers also told me to add another side to the bill. When I finally printed the ticket for them, they had 5 lemon sides, which totaled a whopping $2.50. I dropped the check, hoping they'd just pay it, but nope, they wanted me to take it off the bill. Rather than argue, I got the manager. He usually sided with the customers, so I prepared myself to remove the charges, but he surprised me. He refused to take the lemon charges off, and when they got loud, he claimed I hadn't charged them enough for the soup bowl of slices. He left the table, added an additional $1.50 to the check, and brought them an updated version. They were even more outraged, but the manager wasn't having it. They paid the bill, lashing out at me about how they had never come back. Finally, I had enough. I said, "I'm a server that makes $2.13 an hour. I don't make the decisions about what's free and what we charge for. You being jerks to me isn't going to change anything, rather than make you look like jerks." I walked away. I had never felt so good to stand up for myself, but I was shaking, terrified I'd lose my job. I told the manager what I said and was prepared to be written up or fired. Instead, he said, "Good, they deserved it." Would I be the jerk for not letting my husband go to Cincinnati next weekend? As many of you know, next weekend is the Super Bowl and the Cincinnati Bengals are playing. Saying my husband is a huge football fan is an understatement. He has a friend who lives in Cincinnati, so he told me that he was going down with a few other friends to watch it there. I told him that that wouldn't work. We live 5 hours away from the city, and I know if he goes, he won't be back until Tuesday. We have 3 kids under the age of 11 at home, and if he's gone, I'd have to find someone to take care of them since I can't get work off that Monday or Tuesday. Our work schedules usually work out where one of us would be home by the time they get out of school, but I won't be able to get out early enough. Usually, we could leave them with their grandparents, but that doesn't work during the school year. Not that we couldn't, but I really don't want to hire a babysitter because a week is not long enough to make sure my kids would be safe with some random person. Of course, he's upset with me, saying that I'm trying to make it not work and that we have an entire week to figure something out for 1 or 2 nights. He says that I'm acting like he goes out all the time, which he doesn't. I don't think he's gone out for more than a night since our youngest was born 3 years ago. Would I be the jerk if I didn't let him go? If your number one reason you don't want him to go is childcare, why don't you let him be in charge of finding it? If he finds a sitter that you're both comfortable with, then he can go on the trip. She mentioned in the post and other comments that she isn't going to trust any babysitter. Definitely solidifies the soft you're the jerk. Soft you're the jerk. I understand your hesitance, but also if he hasn't gone out on his own for activities in the last 3 years, he should be able to. But at the same time, you both might be able to have a solution for the babysitting. Also, the Bengals haven't played in the Super Bowl in over 30 years and have never won one. This might be a once-in-a-lifetime experience for him. A once-in-a-lifetime experience to watch it on TV in Cincinnati? He's not going to the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is in California. Watch it on TV or the outdoor inflatable big screen with his friends who are lifelong fans. So yeah. Am I the jerk for trying to get my girls interested in my hobbies and interests instead of getting into theirs? I have 2 girls, 13 and 10, with my wife of 9 years. My girls are typical girls and don't have a lot of interests in common with me. I tried from a young age to get them interested in things we could share. They just never got interested. I'm talking things like video games, science fiction and fantasy books, Star Wars, Iron Man, Batman, etc. These are all popular things that I see a lot of other parents getting into with their kids. They're more interested in things I just can't relate to. The 13-year-old is into fashion, clothes, makeup, hair, all of that. The younger one really likes animals and JoJo. I've tried to be interested in their things. We watched this really bad, campy TV show called One Day at a Time, but I didn't like it and found the writing bad, and they got mad at me when I would laugh. The older one likes the show Riverdale, which I admit was a little more interesting, but it was all a bunch of gossipy teen stuff. I just hit a wall. I couldn't figure out why I was going through all this effort to spend time with them when they obviously don't care enough to be interested in things I care about either. I tried to sit down with them and watch Mandalorian, and they didn't like it. That really hurt me. Like, really, really hurt me. I know kids aren't going to be your own reflection staring back at you, but I thought I'd at least be able to share the things I love with them. I thought we'd get to spend time together instead of being one of those fractured families with no interest in each other. I told my wife that I was sick of feeling like an outsider in my own family, and that I'd like if we could maybe do some designated time that we would do things I liked too. I suggested we could all sit down and learn to play this board game I like, Settlers of Catan. My wife told me that I needed to stop trying to force my stuff down their throat and find a balance somehow. I told her that this is the balance. I can't pretend to be interested in things like gossipy TV dramas, soap operas, etc. when that just isn't me. I'm not a teenage girl. I can't pretend to be one. Am I the jerk? I feel lonely in my own family. My new employee, 24, female, refuses to do her job. Unfortunately, she ends up learning the hard way. Hi all, I'm 40, male, a senior designer of a very small company. I've been overwhelmed with work, and about 6 months ago, we hired someone to be my junior. I'm not technically her boss, but as her senior, I basically act as a substitute for one. I was a little suspicious of this girl, who's 24, because she seemed to have different experience than someone who would have wanted to apply for this role. She majored in UI/UX, but we had a lot in common and she seemed friendly. I used to work as a team lead for a game design studio and managed a bunch of younger employees who kind of saw me as a team dad, and she reminded me of the kids who used to work for me there. My last role was more competitive, but my wife is pregnant and I wanted to take an easier job to help her out with the pregnancy and baby. I wanted to ease her into things, but apparently she had some training scheduled for UI/UX person during her downtime. We don't have downtime here. I saw she had a meeting on her calendar with him after work hours, so I told her she didn't have my permission to do that. She said she had finished all the design work, but that's only because I was shielding her from the harder work. I'm the one having to do the difficult projects, and she's not even a little thankful that I'm saving her from having to work weekends. I didn't tell her to do these tasks, but as an adult, it's her job to take initiative and volunteer. I've tried to look out for her best interests and to be a friendly boss, but I also have to remind her that I'm in charge. During a meeting, when I was having a really horrific day, mostly because I was picking up work she should have been doing, plus stress of my wife's pregnancy, I snapped and called her a name I definitely shouldn't have. She looked upset and ended the call without even saying bye. I know it was unprofessional of me, but I've been called much worse than that in previous jobs, and I assumed she'd get over it. I was friendly with her via IM the rest of the day, but she didn't reply. I got an email from HR saying she had requested us, me, her, and HR, to meet about this incident. I'm not sure what to do. My wife is saying that calling her this name was crossing a line, and even if she's lazy and doesn't want to do her job, and I can see that it wasn't the right move, but going to HR seems way out of line. I know that I shouldn't have insulted her, but I feel like overall, she's consistently been the problem here. Am I the jerk? Bruh. Okay, I'm almost 42 and I have a senior role. I'll explain it really slowly. You're the jerk. Here's why. She isn't telepathic. She doesn't know you're shielding work. Give her tasks that you want her to do. You want her to do the work? Give her the darn work. What's up with that? Also, what she does after working hours is none of your business. And don't use unprofessional language at work. You're going to get in trouble with HR, whatever you think. Thank you. I'm like, wait, she's lazy? She finishes all the work you give her, and you haven't told her you aren't giving her other work? She schedules further training for outside work hours, which you think you can tell her she can't do? But because you know you are shielding and are stressed by the work she doesn't know she isn't doing, you are going to resent her and call her names? You are aware you've told us nothing she's actually done wrong, just the things you assume and then act like have been proven through none of her actions. There is literally no reason for a boss to call an employee a name like that, ever. Even if she had done none of her work and had been lazy, it's still not justified. But also, that's not even what happened. And by the way, you aren't withholding work because you gave her work and she couldn't do it. You are withholding work because you decided from looking at her that she'll fail at it, and you aren't even going to inform her of what she should be training, practicing for you to be able to give her more work. I'm starting to wonder if the last group of younger people under you called you a dad in the endearing way, or if they meant it in an overly controlling, judgmental, disciplinarian way. You're the jerk. Am I the jerk for kicking my mom out of my house because of how she reacted to her partner not liking my wife's chili? My mom and I have just come off of a 3-year estrangement. Her and my wife hated each other from day one, just really clashed, and my mom was going through some stuff in her personal life and acting out. We mutually agreed it wasn't fixable and we should go our separate ways. I recently reconnected with her at a party and told her that I wanted to try to fix things. My wife supported this. My wife is with someone I'll call Rob. I'm pretty sure they are engaged, but to be honest, not 100% sure. We've seen my mom a couple of times since reconnecting, and I can tell she is really trying. She seems extremely anxious and too nervous to talk, so we are taking it really slow, but I do believe that is her trying. Recently, we invited my mom and Rob over. My wife was making chili in the crock pot, and it was done, but we weren't ready to eat. She had some tortilla chips and said she likes dipping it in the chili and invited them to have some while we waited. Rob took some and gagged. I don't think he did it on purpose, and he seemed embarrassed, but my wife's chili is very sweet. She uses maple syrup, chocolate powder, cinnamon, and brown sugar. My mom laughed, which upset my wife because she's always been smug about not thinking my wife is a good cook. I could see my wife getting annoyed and snapped at my mom. Rob looked kind of ill and excused himself. My mom stood there for a minute in silence and then bolted after him and started banging on the bathroom door and demanding to be let in. He was ignoring her and she started freaking out and said she wanted to be hugged. She has some anxiety and PTSD related stuff and he is her comfort person. Just as I got to the door to tell her to stop banging, Rob let her in and I heard their conversation. Rob was saying that they had to get out of here because he can't eat that chili. My mom was kind of teasing him about, "Aw, you didn't like it?" and telling him she served it with rice with raisins and sugar and a maple sauce. A lie. And he said it tasted like dog food with sugar and he was going to have nightmares. I saw red and my mom was laughing. It just brought me back to how smug she used to be and how she looked down on us. When they came out, I told her to leave. My mom got really quiet again and said it was creepy that I was standing outside of the bathroom door. She said she's been trying and she feels I'm looking for reasons to hate her. I told her to just go because I was too emotional to talk to her. She left willingly, but Rob told me I can't just nitpick and kick her out and then think she is going to want to continue to put work into this relationship. Yowza canowza! All I got from this is the most jacked up chili recipe ever. Everyone sucks here. Sorry, but your wife is a bad cook. Just accept it. It was so bad, a man who was trying to be polite couldn't help but gag. That doesn't make her the jerk, but her being a jerk about it when people don't like her cooking is. I mean, either she is a genuinely bad cook or she intentionally sabotaged the chili just so she could act outraged when people don't like it. Take your pick. Your wife threw an absolute tantrum before anyone had done anything wrong, which you did nothing to address and upset the guest, who then behaved like a dramatic nut herself. And you, instead of chilling out when they left the room, actually followed them just to keep the situation escalated, to the point of hanging around the bathroom like a weirdo. Everyone in this story except for Rob acted like an absolute baby, and all of this over some bad chili. Y'all have some serious growing up to do. Cooking classes might be a good idea too. Edit. I may have misread the post. I read that the wife snapped at the mom, but it has been brought to my attention it may have been the OP who did the snapping. And while snapping at someone isn't an absolute tantrum, absolutely no rude response was warranted at all. And I also believe, given the mom's reaction, that calling whatever happened snapping at her was an understatement. That chili recipe sounds super gross. Brown sugar and maple syrup and chocolate? We're cooking beans here, not brownies. People who go for unique versions of classic dishes need to understand that some people aren't going to like their new interpretation and take it in stride when people don't like it. That said, Mom and Rob are definitely jerks for the way they acted. I like my food on the sweet side sometimes, but wow, I'd never do any of that. Maybe a little brown sugar could go in chili, I still wouldn't. But what absolute maniac adds chocolate of all things? I wonder if OP's wife even knows what chili is. This is the kind of thing someone would come up with if they only saw a picture of chili, having never tasted or smelled it, and guessed at the ingredients after binge-watching Cake Wars. I don't think Rob was a jerk. I'd probably gag at that too. I don't think he could help it. I'm just hoping he doesn't have diabetes. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his mom? Please let us know.
I was actually quite hungry before we read that story. Now my appetite is just ruined.
Oh, so you don't want to let me do my job? Okay then. I'm currently working at a small office doing customer service to finance uni. Last summer, I got assigned with a new superior when my old one went on maternal leave. Mind you, at this time I had been doing my job for close to 2 years. Every colleague said that I was doing a great job. My error quota was really low and so on. My primary task is answering the phone to help customers with all different kinds of questions they have. Secondary tasks include handling the mail, checking application forms, etc. If I don't know an answer, I'll transfer the customers to the next level support, which is really just my colleagues without a fixed term contract. The guy I was assigned to is the most aggressive, micromanaging dude one could imagine. He insisted on sitting next to me for a 6-hour shift to supervise how I talk to people. Pretty sure that was illegal since he could hear every customer call with me. Since that made me incredibly nervous, and I told him that, I was very careful and hesitant with my support on that particular day. Other colleagues told him about how satisfied they were with my work, but he still decided that I was too incompetent to give out qualified answers beyond first-level support. Well, that's how my new superior decided that I wasn't good enough at my job and forbade me to give out information on my own without double-checking with the next-level support, in this case, him and some other colleagues first. Let's just say that in my pettiness, I have redirected every phone call that falls into his domain straight to his phone for the last few months. His call quota went up from roughly 2 to 3 calls a shift to about 20. Whenever he's not in office or doesn't pick up his phone, every customer gets his work mail address so he can answer stuff properly, since I am too incompetent to give out answers I have known by heart for 2 years. Oh, and since he also forbade me to do things simultaneously, like answering the phone while working through application forms, etc., because that would increase my error quota, never happened. I have collected a nice amount of overtime. Overtime hours aren't paid out where I live, meaning you have to take days off to get rid of them. I'm currently eligible to leave roughly 3 months before my contract ends, so I have no vacation plus overtime left when my last day arrives. There's 3 months of him having to do my full-time job because he can't get another student to do it before my contract officially ends. Edit. Forgot to mention that I do my thing with him and him only. Whenever a call falls into the domain of other coworkers, I still do my job as usual. Am I the jerk for going on vacation when my daughter had a broken leg? About 3 weeks ago, my daughter Sam, who's 19, was hit by a driver on a crosswalk. I was scheduled to take a much-needed vacation the next day with my husband to Cancun for 2 weeks. We haven't got to use our timeshare since 2020. When I left, I just heard Sam had a broken leg and didn't think it was that big of a deal. While I was out of town, family started calling me more and more. My family includes Sam's sister, Brig, who's 24, make drama out of everything. After 4 days of this, I shut off my phone. I come back home from vacation and Sam needed major surgery on her leg and then stomach for bleeding. She's on my husband, her stepdad's insurance. Brig and their father had to fly out and take care of Sam. She goes to school out of state. Everyone is now mad at me and my husband because we help up insurance processing and Sam's recovery. The only thing I told my husband was that Sam was involved in a hit and run and she broke her leg. I didn't know anything much different in Cancun. Husband gets mad at me like everyone else because Sam was so injured and said if he had known that, he would have never left on vacation. I have explained my side of things and considered it a miscommunication from everyone. Everyone is calling me selfish, and now my husband is not talking to me. My stepkids have even offered to help Sam out. I didn't run away to vacation, and I heard broken leg. That was that. No one said anything else before we left. Everyone is flipping out because they think I'm the worst mother ever. I tried to tell Brig that maybe she should stop crying wolf all of the time if she wants people to take her seriously. You're the jerk. You know very well that you created the miscommunication by leaving when all you knew about her situation was that her leg was hurt, but you shut off your phone when people kept calling. You cut off communication and harmed your daughter by holding up her insurance. In OP's defense, she has more than one daughter, and each daughter has, still hopefully, more than one leg, and she just had this one vacation since 2020. You're the jerk. Why would you shut your phone off when your daughter was in an accident? She's 19. She might legally be an adult, but only for a couple of months. It sounds like you just heard about the broken leg and didn't even call your daughter just to see how she was. You're the jerk. After 4 days, you shut your phone off? It wasn't just a broken leg, and you'd know that if you actually checked in with her or answered your phone. They were trying to notify you. People flew in from out of state. Cancun was more important than figuring out why you were being called so much. Most people would realize, hey, I'm being called an ungodly amount of times. There must be some kind of emergency. You're the jerk again. Everyone is now mad at you and your husband because you held up insurance processing in Sam's recovery. Yep, anger about this is deserved too. You're the jerk times 3. We can save the industry by policing guests. Little background. I'm the GM at a small mom-and-pop bar. Limited menu, but mostly wine-centric. I've been there a long time. I moonlight as the chef. I do all the ordering and manage the small 4-person kitchen team. During peak lockdown, I cooked alone. I've been a manager for years. I've seen it all. I love it. From the back end, I love my employees and problem solving and keeping people happy. On the front end, I love guests and serving. It's a local place known for warm staff and chill vibes, but we are on a busy street, so we get a lot of randoms. As we all know, lockdown has truly brought out the trash. My management style is aggressive. I do not let people disrespect anybody working in any way. There are ways of dealing with demanding and difficult people, but wanton disregard for servers like they aren't human beings? That's gonna be a no from me. We had one table of dudes that like to snap their fingers and yell at the server even when she's at another table. I've noticed in my time that this can be cultural and not offensive, but this was rude. Normally it can be ignored, but the last 2 years of dealing with people's crap makes this a big deal. Server is clearly in distress. I told them to just say, "Hi, my name is blank. You can call me if you need me." It works usually. These guys keep snapping and waving or being obnoxious. I gave her 2 choices. Let it roll off you and get them through, or I can go over there next time they snap. She chose the latter. I see them continue the behavior, so I find a moment and go over there. Ask them how they're doing. How's everything? Shoot the breeze. Then I'm like, "Hey man, I don't know where y'all normally hang out, but here we don't snap our fingers and yell to our staff. It's disrespectful to the rhythm we've got going, and if I can see it from the bar, other guests can see it. Then they start doing it, and suddenly we are in the stock exchange on a Monday morning. You feel me?" Solved, and they had a great time. Another server had a table. I walked by and heard a mean word used. It wasn't quiet. The server and I look at each other. I said, "Excuse me, that kind of language isn't accepted here. I heard it and it's offensive. Keep whatever conversation you're having to yourselves." This lady goes, "I have block friends." She actually said that. I'm ticked now. "You should call them and see if it's cool you said what you just said." She replies, "You wouldn't have cared if I had said another word." I'm pretty sure I left my body at this point. I print out their tab and present it with, "We do not tolerate people like you. Pay this and get out." Her husband goes, "Yeah, we aren't paying that." I took out my phone, snapped a picture of them, and said, "Okay, so I'm gonna call the cops, prosecute you for stealing, and have you trespassed. We good?" By the way, I am super calm, borderline being nice, and I don't really think they understood what was happening. Zero disruption in the dining room. They paid and left, and I called the staff over to talk to them about it. I'm explaining all of this because so often in this industry, we are mistreated and degraded daily, and I think it could be changed by respectfully challenging guests to be better in a calm, firm way. And I think it should happen often. I don't subscribe to the notion that restaurant jobs need to suck. My team feels protected, and it makes them closer, more confident, faster, and better servers. Their relationship with guests works better this way, and that generates more revenue without compromising. It's entirely possible I'm overthinking the whole thing, and we should all collect our tips and leave. But I don't know. We are starting to choose and educate our guests, and nobody cries in the walk-in. Am I the jerk for banning my sister from seeing my daughter after she took her to a Tinder date's house? Me, 25, female, and my sister, Lexi, who's 26, have a pretty good relationship. Lexi is also pretty close to my daughter, Emily, who's 4. Lexi has babysat Emily several times over the years, and there's never been a problem. A couple of days ago, my boyfriend and I were going out to celebrate our 2nd anniversary. Lexi offered to babysit for us, and everything seemed to be set up. My boyfriend and I were planning to be gone for about 8 hours. Unfortunately, about 4 hours into the outing, my boyfriend started to get a migraine. He tried taking his regular medication, but they weren't kicking in that much. I decided to just drop him off at home so he could relax. I sent Lexi a text telling her that I was on my way home early. After I got home, I noticed that Lexi's car wasn't in my driveway. I went inside and called out for Lexi and Emily. They were nowhere in the house, so I immediately called Lexi. After I called her 4 times, she finally picked up the phone. I started yelling and demanded to know where the heck she was. She said we would talk after she got back to my house. About 20 minutes later, Lexi and Emily showed up, and I put Emily to bed. After Emily was sound asleep, I exploded on Lexi and told her to start talking. She told me that she was chatting with a random guy from Tinder, and he asked her to come over. She said that she knew Emily would just sleep the whole time, so she agreed to come over. She said that everything was fine. Emily just ate some snacks and went to sleep in the guy's spare room. I completely lost it. I told her that she was an idiot. I asked her how she could do something so reckless. She got mad and told me it wasn't a big deal. She would never let anything happen to Emily. I told her that she had no right to take my daughter to a random person's home. She said that she can read people, and she knew that this guy wouldn't hurt anyone. I told her that she's nuts, and she put my daughter in God knows how much danger. I told her that I can no longer trust her and that I never want to speak to her again. I also told her that she's never allowed to see Emily again. She started crying and said that I'm overreacting to the whole thing. I told her that I paid her to protect my daughter, not endanger her so she could go have fun. She continued to cry and beg, but I eventually kicked her out. My mom says that even though Lexi messed up big time, I still overreacted. My mom says that I should reconsider separating Lexi and Emily because they're family. Am I the jerk?
Not the jerk. Your sister is never to be trusted with her again. Next.
Am I the jerk for not giving my coworker a ride home after closing? I, 17 male, started working at a grocery store 4 to 5 months ago. I get along with my manager and coworkers and somewhat enjoy my job, other than a few jerks that come in here and there. I work as a cashier, and there's this one girl who's 17 that's always scheduled with me. She talks to me the most and always wants to hang out with me and do everything with me, and even wants to take her break when I do. Super weird and annoying, but I just ignore it most of the time. Last night, it was me, her, and my manager closing, and 15 minutes before closing, she asked me if I can drive her home because it's late at night and she doesn't feel safe walking alone. I tried telling her multiple times that she lives a little too far, and my father would lose his crap if he found out I let a girl in my car. He doesn't trust me for some stupid reason, and that she could ask my manager for a ride. She goes on about how she doesn't feel safe taking a ride from my manager and that I'm the only person at my job that makes her feel safe. At that point, I kind of felt bad, but I made my final decision and went home. Today, when I came into work and greeted the normal people I see every day, a couple of people asked me why I made her upset and walk alone home. I tried to tell them the best that I could, but everyone just thinks I'm a jerk now, and she doesn't even want to talk or even look in my direction. So Reddit, am I the jerk? Not the jerk. She should arrange her own rides home if she feels it's unsafe to walk. Poor planning on her part doesn't make it your obligation. Also, to point out the obvious, the girl has a crush on OP and is honestly probably most likely embarrassed about being so obviously turned down more than she is upset about not getting a ride. Still not the jerk, but just wanted to point out why she's most likely acting differently and that this may have changed their relationship because she'll no longer be clamoring for his attention and pushing to hang out. Edit. I'm not saying OP has to like her back or anything. I'm just pointing out that he seemed a bit upset that she's now ignoring him because of the ride issue, when really she's probably embarrassed about what happened and doesn't want to continue throwing herself at OP. If OP doesn't like her, then he's definitely in his right to not go out of his way to apologize and try to foster a friendship. However, if he is interested in her, now that he knows she was obviously flirting, then there are ways he can go about this getting her attention. Some people are pointing out OP obviously doesn't like her if he was this annoyed with her, but I've seen multiple boys get upset with annoying girls only to lose their minds when years later they're told that the girl used to like them and why didn't you tell me anything? But OP could also have never picked up on the flirting because he doesn't like her. I just don't think this is a huge thing to fight about in the comments. Competitor IT company steals our articles. I owned an IT company, we'll call it UberTech, that strictly manages business networks. no website development, graphics, etc. One of my employees was tackling an interesting support request with instructions for making changes to a company's website. This happens from time to time when a customer gets confused with their various tech vendors or assumes that we provide all tech-related services. Being in earshot, I can tell that my employee's call was quickly escalating with a frustrated person on the other end, and he has already offered to pass the call off to his manager. Me. Uber Tech, how can I help you? Angry website owner. Web owner. I want to know what's going on here. I don't know who you are. I don't know why you're calling me. And I don't know why you have my support information. Me. Sir, to be honest, I don't know who you are, why we are calling you, and why we have your support information either. But together, I think we can figure this out. I understand that you have a website and made a request for some changes. Who hosts your website? Web owner. Derp Company. On their support website, there are instructions to send support requests. I followed them, and now I have you calling me with my support information. Me. Sir, I definitely want to get down to the bottom of this. We do not even offer website services. If you would please work with me, I'm sure we can get an answer. What I want to do is have you share your screen with me and then show me what you did to request support. I had him run our remote control software. He then proceeded to navigate to DerpCo's support website, support.derpco.com, navigated through the customer self-service pages to a knowledge base article on how to submit a support. He pulled up this specific knowledge base article, and I was staring at a verbatim copy of an article that I had written on our own website. There were no changes to the article, including the step to email your support request to, and it was my company's email address right there. Me. Thank you for taking the time to show me this. I think I found the problem. Notice the email address in the instructions. It's telling you to email ubertech.com. That's us. Now, please allow me to show you something. I then scrolled down to the bottom of DerpCo's Plagiarized support article and noted the creation date, 2007. I then navigated to our company's support website, support.ubertech.com, and navigated to our own matching article. We both confirmed that it was the same article, and I showed him the creation date of our article, 2005. Web owner. Oh, look at that. Me. I think it's safe to say that DerpCo has stolen our content, did not even update the instructions, misleading you to send a support request to us. Web owner. I'm sure you have a few things to take care of with DerpCo. I would appreciate it if you do not mention us when you call them. Me. Of course, sir. Thank you for your time with this. I immediately searched DerpCo's support website looking for more of our stolen content, found a total of 5 articles, and promptly printed them out and saved copies as PDF. So what to do in this situation? Do I call the owner of DerpCo? This is a small town, so I needed to be clever and not taint my own image. How do I get revenge? Hire a lawyer? Leave the articles as is and hope more support requests come to us that can bring us business? Revenge unleashed. No, I wrote a press release. News release, release date for immediate release. Title, UberTech endorsed by local competitor. I got some great kudos from local businesses. One client in particular was rolling. 2 days later, I get an email from owner of DerpCo. I would appreciate it if you were to remove the press release from your website. This is a small town, and it is just not good business. I went to their support site and still found 3 articles from our company. I wrote back and told them that I would be happy to do so, but there are at least still 3 articles on their support site that need to be removed. 2 days later, I got another email confirming the articles were removed. Epilogue. In the end, I took down our press release, but still have a copy kept in our office and would tell this story to our new employees. Am I the jerk for not wanting to share the money my uncle gave me with my cousins? This has been causing tension since 2019, and I'm starting to have doubts, so I would like an outside perspective. So, I, 27 male, had an uncle who was smart and a successful man in the corporate world. He married my aunt, his college sweetheart, a couple of years after they graduated because she got pregnant. She went on to have 2 more kids, and since my uncle made good money, she became a stay-at-home parent. My aunt was kind of stuck up and put a lot of value into looking good and material possessions, and raised my cousins, Brad, Jessica, and Lauren, 29 male, 26 female, and 23 female, to be the same. Brad would always brag about the latest and coolest things that he would get, while his sisters looked down on other members of the family for not having as nice clothes or houses as them, but would do it in a Regina George kind of way. so they could argue that it wasn't intended as an insult and would do a sorry, not sorry type of apology if pressured to. A lot of us didn't really care for their attitude and only really tolerated them for my uncle. Well, in 2019, a bomb dropped, and my aunt was having an on and off affair with some guy she knew in high school. My uncle did a DNA test twice, and none of his wife's kids were biologically his. Brad and Lauren were the on and off guy's kids, and as far as I know, Jessica's biological dad is unknown. My uncle was heartbroken and furious and ready to divorce, but because his wife never worked during their marriage and there was no prenup, he was basically done for. My aunt knew this and showed no remorse. According to my uncle, she was basically like, "Either you stay and get over it, or I take everything you have." My uncle was in a really dark place, and we all tried to be there for him, but he kept walls up. He passed not too long after this and drained all bank accounts and racked up huge credit card debts. Most of the money he took went to either charities, people he liked, or organizations that he supported. But he sent $60,000 to me as a gift, so I would have to pay little to no taxes. I know because I got a notification from the bank, and there was an investigation to make sure it was legitimate before I was granted access to the funds. This was a long and stressful process. My aunt's credit history was ruined, and my aunt was forced to put her house on the market. I decided to keep my mouth shut about the money because my cousins were now going around begging for financial help and reminded everyone all those times they helped when we were in a financial bind, how family helps family. However, technically, they aren't family by blood or even spirit in my eyes. These were just the rude people I had to see and tolerate during family events that aren't really related to me. I'd rather just keep the money and save it for a rainy day or start a trust for potential kids. So, am I the jerk? Karen demands Disney-only gifts for her daughter's birthday party. My niece just turned 5, and we got her a magic mixie. It's like a magic cauldron toy. My sister, Elsa, has a strict Disney toy-only policy and literally gives us lists of acceptable Disney-only toys. But that's not what my niece wanted. She's been obsessed with getting a magic mixie since her friend got one. My brother-in-law doesn't care and gets her other stuff all the time. I texted him and he said it was okay to not stick to the list since the grandparents got her stuff that wasn't Disney related. He said he wants niece to branch out more and to ignore the list. Elsa is a Disney adult. Everything has to be Disney related. Before my niece was born, Elsa sent out a Facebook post and a family-wide email that anything without a Disney character on it, toys, clothes, bedding, furniture, anything, would get thrown out. Not donated, thrown out. We've never actually sent my niece a gift at all because we know Elsa would throw it away. Disney is her aesthetic, and she'll throw things away in front of the people who gift them to her if they're not plastered with cartoon characters. At her birthday party, my niece opened the magic mixie and went bananas. Elsa didn't say anything other than a neutral, "How cute," and then moved on to something else. After the party was over, Elsa went crazy and said it was my fault that she has to throw her kid's toy away. Apparently, her and brother-in-law got into a big fight when she tried to throw it out during the party. She also tried to give it to several of the parents at the party. The moms from her mom group called her insensitive that she had tried to get rid of a toy her kid was so excited about and asked if she was going to do that with their gifts. My mom called me later and said I was a huge jerk for not sticking to what Elsa wanted and for making her anxious about the presents, because I guess after the party, her mom group of friends got upset with her and they found out that she throws away gifts, so she and niece are uninvited from a lot of spring activities. Am I the jerk for not giving in to a Disney adult and getting the kid the toy that they actually wanted? Not the jerk. Elsa needs to let it go. Not the jerk. Does Disney have a psychiatrist character that Elsa would be willing to speak with? OP. I wish. I think the Disney thing has to do a little bit with maybe clout or money. We grew up poor, and I think my sister thinks rich people like Disney. She really seems to conflate Disney with high quality and high class, which is super weird. I remember a post a while back that was authored by a teenager who was named after a Harry Potter character. All of her family events were centered around Harry Potter. She ended up exploding at her family because she felt like she was being forced into this hobby and her parents didn't allow her to have her own interests. I feel like this could become a similar situation, so not the jerk. I agree. What Elsa's doing is a surefire way to get her kid to hate everything and anything Disney. While I usually side with the parent here, you are not the jerk. You got your niece a gift she wanted. How dare you? Seriously, the dad is not on board with mom's Disney-only policy, and as they're both parents, you're good. I also love Disney, but who throws out perfectly good toys? Donate them at least. Refuse to pay me for piano lessons? Okay, I'll count every minute and charge accordingly. When I was 14, I was qualified fully in my country in a piano playing performance qualification. I had worked really hard for this and was so proud, my parents too. I was too young to join paid orchestras, and they didn't exist near me. So instead, I handed out business cards to residents nearby in a fairly wealthy area and thought I could make some money teaching after school. Teachers in the area were charging 20 euros per half hour, so I charged 17 because of my age and got very lucky that a few mums caught on and switched to me instead. I quickly had 4 to 5 kids/adults to teach every single weeknight in an area I could bike around. This was roughly 400 euros every single week. An hour's lesson was 50 minimum, with a short water break and explanation of homework at the end. A half-hour lesson was 25 minutes, with explanation and homework at the end. I made all of this very clear and learned it was necessary through time to walk people carefully through homework and exam prep. These parents paid 10 lessons in advance every time, and I kept a calendar and updated parents weekly on where they were at. One parent would always ask for a full summary of all 10 weeks for all 3 of her kids, and I was happy to provide it. Suddenly, one week, she decided she didn't owe me money for the next 10 lessons until I had made up for lost time. I was obviously very confused and asked her what she meant. She cited the reason that I cut 5 minutes off every 30 minutes and 10 minutes off every hour, so I should teach that extra time before getting more money. Here's the real kicker. Her kids were horribly behaved. They were easily the most spoiled, entitled kids I taught, and often said things like, "Since we pay you, don't you work for me?" They were ages 6 through 11. She had also referred me to a lot of other parents, so I was concerned about my jobs. Because her kids behaved badly and didn't do homework, I always spent extra time with them, 5 to 10 minutes per week, because they needed it. But okay, sure. You want me to work that time? No problem. So I decided to tell this mother from now on, I would set a timer and charge every minute on that timer and show her when I clicked it on and off, and gave a huge apology. You can imagine her shock at the end of the 10 weeks when she saw that the kids' combined 30 hours was actually more like 36 to 37 that she had to pay for. She never bothered me about the timing ever again and rushed through every homework or exam prep explanation, getting me out of the door. Am I the jerk for telling my boyfriend to take back the car he surprised me with? Okay, I'm 26, female, and my boyfriend, who's 33, surprised me with a brand new car about a month ago. I was super happy and very appreciative. My old car was working fine, but it was outdated, but I never complained about it. Me and my boyfriend never really argue, but these last few days have been bad. I assume it's because he's stressed at work, so he comes home and drinks, and that makes him not physical, but just very loud and obnoxious. Everything he says, it's always, "I just bought you a brand new car, and you should be worshiping me." He's been saying that a lot. As I was trying to sell my old car, I had a couple of people interested, and they decided they didn't want it. My boyfriend was furious. He acted like it was my fault they didn't want it, and he said whatever money I get from the car needs to go to him. Which is logical, but I never asked him to buy me a car. I never complained about my old one. I was tired of the rude comments he would make, so I told him the only reason he bought me the car is so he can have something over my head, and I told him to sell the new car or return it. He called me an ungrateful jerk. I never raised my voice to him, ever. This whole thing is so frustrating. He hasn't spoken to me all day. So, am I the jerk for this? Update. Well, first off, I want to say how much I appreciate every single one of you that gave me some input on this crazy situation. Physically, I'm okay, but mentally I'm not. I told him how much his words hurt me. He got very upset. I've never been one to take any BS from any guy. So he started calling me names, belittling me, and his body language acted like he really wanted to get me. I got up, looked at him in the eye, and didn't say a word. I got a few of my things, put it in my old car, and since the new car is in my name, I took off the license plate and left the car. I texted him later and told him to plan on meeting me at the DMV this week to sign it back over. I went to my friend's house after it all went down. He started texting me all kinds of things, saying he knew where I was because he put a tracker on my old car a few years ago. This whole situation blindsided me, and I will be going to the police if this psycho behavior from him continues. I can't believe I was with this dude for almost 5 years and nothing like this has ever happened before. I'm shocked and I'm heartbroken. We were supposed to get married. Please continue to keep me in your thoughts. It's going to be so hard healing over this. Again, thank you so much to everyone that has reached out. I appreciate it more than anything, and I've never felt so loved. Not the jerk. A gift with conditions is not a gift. Not to mention, is the car legally in your name, OP? If not, he bought himself a new car he is holding over your head and allowing you to drive. Do not get rid of your own car. Exactly. He wants OP to sell her car, give him the money she gets from it while he has this new car in his name, so he can report it stolen if she ever drives it anywhere without his permission. Don't get rid of your car, OP. OP. I should also add, he is extremely adamant on me getting rid of my old car. It's like he wants it gone, so I wouldn't have anything else to drive besides the new car. We are both pretty well off. If I wanted a new car, I could have bought it myself. The car is in my name now, and my parents are telling me to take the car and run and ditch him. I'm just so confused altogether. Our relationship was going so great before all of this. I'm going to talk to him soon and try to have an actual conversation. Am I the jerk for having I'm 25 female, uncle, who's 56 male, arrested? So I moved into my apartment I own back in 2020. I keep to a very minimalistic lifestyle, so I don't actually own very much at all. But what I do own, I like it to be a good investment for the long run, relevant for later. I ran into a plumbing issue that wasn't easy to fix, at least not for me who knows zero about plumbing. I called my uncle asking if he could help. He came over with my aunt to take a look at what was going on, and I don't like her. There are quite a few reasons. She took my grandmother's ring despite it being willed to me. She pushes over people to get what she wants. She uses her mother's passing as an excuse, always leaving out that her father and she were, according to those who knew them then, exceptionally cruel to the mother. My uncle used to be a really great guy until she came along. Now he bends to her every whim. I digress. She comes and complains that it looks like I am dirt poor, that I have minimal furnishings, and that it looks uptight. I say I'd rather make memories than have stuff and leave it there. Then she notices my silver box I keep my sterling flatware in. Now, this is just me. I spent a year or so saving money to buy nice flatware. My reasoning was it will grow in value. I can pass it along to my kids, and it will, or can, last a long time. She starts asking me what's in it, and I brush her off. She keeps on, as she does, and I say it's heirlooms. Not true, but still. She keeps on, and I break, saying it's flatware. She then asks me how many place settings, and I say I can't remember. She goes on to say that she has this small dinner party, and she can borrow it, and I say no. She pouts the rest of the time. They leave with my uncle saying he needs a few tools and a specific part to fix my plumbing, and he will come back later. I thank him and say bye. We arrange for about a week later for him to come back with a key I left in the lockbox since I would be working. I came home, I look around, my silver box is missing, and I know exactly who it was. I call the police, I give all the information, and show them photos I took for insurance. Long story short, my box was in their dining room when they showed up, and my uncle is arrested for theft. My aunt keeps calling me, screeching at me that I'm horrible for this, and for giving him a criminal record. I say she should have thought about that before she made him do that, not being able to take no as an answer. The silver itself is a rare pattern and not easily replaceable. She threw my comment back in my face, saying, "I thought you wanted memories. It's just stuff." I hung up on her. Here's where I think I am the jerk. My uncle only did it because of my aunt, in my opinion, so I'm effectively punishing someone who wouldn't have done it without the influence. Then I get mad all over again and think what a breach of trust it is and feel fine. Am I the jerk? Edit. For clarification regarding the ring, I'll just put my comment up here because it got buried. It went missing for quite a while. I didn't actually know my aunt had taken it until I saw her wearing it at a family function years later. She tried to play it off that it was a different ring, and I didn't have the money, time, or willpower to deal with it at the time with school and everything. My mom was dealing with cancer, so I just put it on the back burner. Also, edit 2. I didn't call them or try to retrieve it myself because of the ring. I didn't want it to go missing if I gave them the heads up. Thanks for all the replies so far. Offer to drop charges for your grandmother's ring, which is rightfully yours and stolen also, or tack that charge on too. OP. That's actually a great idea. Thank you. For clarity, this actually seems to be a bad idea because of extortion. I will be discussing any options I have for getting the ring back with a lawyer and also the police. It helps that the officer I've been dealing with is incredibly handsome, and I am now also debating if it's seriously inappropriate to ask him out. Wish me luck, Reddit. I'm an awkward nerd. Also, he's a 56-year-old man. He knew what he did was wrong. Regardless of how this ends, I wouldn't allow either one of them in your home ever again. Not the jerk. Your uncle stole from you, bottom line. Doesn't sound to me like OP even got him arrested. She just told the police that a thing had been stolen and who could possibly have had an opportunity to steal it. They investigated, found the stolen goods, and arrested the person who appeared to be responsible. The only alternative would have been not to report a crime just in case it was a family member, which is absurd. Maybe you should read your contract before insisting your landlady do something. This is my mom's malicious compliance, but she's not on here, so I'll post it. My mom rents out 2 houses. One is the house she bought when she married her first husband. One is the house her first husband lived in after they divorced. When he passed, my brother inherited it. I'm from the second marriage and asked my mom to manage it. Both houses are rented out to the city they're located in, and they use it as a social housing for refugees. Because of this, they pay less rent than is usual for the area. But to make up for that, they have pretty unique clauses in their contract. Example, they are responsible to fix anything that wasn't caused by weather. That's not legal to do in a contract with private people, but since the renter is the city, it's legal. Recently, the city approached my mom and told her that some appliances broke, and since the people living there didn't notify the city immediately, water seeped into the walls and caused mold to form within the walls. They assumed that the same rule as for private renters would apply to them and demanded that my mom should renovate. My mom told them that they should have a look into their contract. Point 4, sentence 2. Yes, she even gave them the exact sentence they should look at. They insisted and also told her that she needed to hire companies that work with the city to do the renovation because they would only trust those companies. My mom then asked if that means they are delegating the organization to her and are unwilling to work with any other companies. As they said yes, she acted. She organized everything and let the bills be sent to the city. The city returned the bills, stating that mom has to pay them. My mom sent them a copy of the contract with the applying sentences highlighted and told them if they refused to pay, she'd have to go to a lawyer, and those costs would add to that. The city denied any responsibility for paying. They took it to court where, because our courts are notoriously overwhelmed with cases, an out-of-court settlement was advised. When presented with everything, the person from the court told the city that they were definitely in the wrong. But then the city said that my mom deliberately chose the most expensive companies, and they would only pay for a part of the bill because of that. Well, my mom had it in writing that they ordered her which companies to hire, so that was quickly resolved. Had they told my mom, listen, could you organize it and have the bill sent to us? She'd have picked companies with about half the cost. But well, that's life. Am I the jerk for paying my niece $50 for the birthday cake she made for my son's birthday? My 16-year-old niece Judy is into bakery. She bakes plenty of sweets and cakes. Due to my brother and his wife's financial situation, Judy got dropped from Cooking Academy. She was heartbroken over this, especially because she was on top of her class. She was determined to go back to Cooking Academy, so she started selling stuff she bakes online to be able to afford her classes. Her parents thought Cooking Academy was a distraction from school and disapproved of it though. They started demanding she bakes for neighbors and friends for free. My son's 4th birthday was last week. I asked Judy if she could bake a cake for $50. She agreed, but my brother said no chance and swore up and down that she will do it for free. Judy said if she keeps working for free, she'll no longer be able to afford the academy, not to mention the ingredients. I said I have no issue paying, but my brother said we're family and the cake was for free. This didn't sit right with me, so I went behind my brother and his wife's back and gave Judy the $50 before they left the party. Well, they found out and yelled at Judy for accepting the money. Then my brother called, saying I shouldn't have paid her, but I said she deserves the money for her efforts. But he went on about how unacceptable it is for family to pay for favors, and said that Judy got grounded for acting so entitled. I had an argument with him and told him to stop the punishment, but he said we wouldn't be dealing with this if I didn't go behind his back and gave Judy the money in the first place. I hung up, then met up with my family to discuss this, and they all agreed that I should have never sneaked my niece the money and disrespected her parents' wishes. They told me that I don't even get to speak ill of my brother because he was just trying to be generous with me and was being real family. I don't know. I kind of feel like I might be the jerk for this. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. People think that just because you're family, you don't deserve to be paid for your time and effort and skill. You did the right thing. She deserved that $50. Except her parents are making the kid work for free for everyone. OP might be able to better help by telling the niece she'll hold the money for her until she's old enough to open her own bank account, or possibly gift the academy tuition directly paid to the academy. I agree with this, but $50 and the whole tuition is a big difference money-wise. Not on OP to pay the whole tuition, but maybe she could help set up a small business for her so she can widen her clientele. Not the jerk. Not the jerk. As crappy as it all was, I was really thrown off by the rest of the family saying, "Brother was just trying to be generous with you." You cannot be generous with someone else's time, effort, and supplies, even your own kid. OP, put another $50 aside for your niece, because her father definitely took the initial $50 from her, and talk to any other family, friends, or neighbors who are on your side in this mess to start a fund for her anytime she bakes to have control of when she is 18. Never let your brother know about this. From the way it sounds, she probably won't have much of a relationship with her parents when she is of age anyway. Who could blame her? So she'll need all the help she can get. Well, who do you agree with? OP or the dad? Please let us know.
Dad sounds like an idiot. He may not have anything to offer, but his daughter does, and she should be compensated for it.
Am I the jerk for telling my husband my money is mine? My husband and I had triplets, all boys, about 2 years after we got married. They had some health issues. Because of that, my husband wanted me to quit my job and take care of our boys in our home. Since it was cheaper than paying for specialized childcare, I agreed. Our family lives in a row of townhomes, 6 homes in our building, that were owned by our landlord at the time. I was offered a job cleaning townhomes when a tenant moved out by our landlord. I asked my husband about it. He said that he didn't care, but he didn't want it to interfere with my responsibilities at home. We also agreed the money would be mine since it's a second job. We did this for 3 years. It grew into where I cleaned other places for my landlord. I just put the money into savings. My father-in-law passed in June of 2019. When my husband received a check from his mom, I asked my husband about it. He got angry and said that it's his money and any future inheritance would not be part of our family budget. My husband ended up going on several trips with his brothers with the money. I was okay with that. Although I was hurt, he got angry when I asked about it. October 2021. My grandpa passed. I'm the only grandchild. My parents make good money, so his estate was left to me. I just transferred the money, rented out the farmland around his home. I did decide to keep his home since it is close to my parents' home. I live 4 hours away from them. I didn't talk to my husband about it since it was my inheritance. January of this year, my landlord came to me and let me know he was selling the townhomes I live in. With cost rising around us, I was worried about it. It would cause a major impact in our family's budget. Things worked out to where I was able to use my inheritance combined with what I had saved from working to buy the building. My husband came to me and told me he wants me to deposit part of the rental income from the other townhomes into our family account, allowing more spending money for fun. I reminded him of our agreements. Along with, we no longer have a rent payment. We ended up in a fight. He's saying that I'm being the jerk for not sharing the money coming in. Why are you married to this greedy hypocrite? His money is his, and how dare you even ask about it? But your money is for both of you, and how dare you not want to share? What? He stuck you with caring for the 3 babies with health issues and the house? Not the jerk. But wow, this guy has some audacity. Yeah, the level of audacity and greed is practically out of this world. Like, how did you even get married with this guy, OP? Should probably divorce. Greed and selfishness, this is wild. OP, not the jerk, and you have a husband problem. He established the rules himself. My inheritance, my money. It should be followed by your inheritance, your money, and it was. Rules should apply for both spouses. You got what you wanted. Why you mad? It is your inheritance in the first place. There's no agreement to share, rather the opposite. As such, you should be able to do whatever you want. He's only budging now that he sees he can bank from you. His priorities are messed up. He wants to put money into the family account, but for fun? When you have 3 kids with health issues? So immature and selfish. ETA. OP, I think you should talk to a lawyer. If you put the inheritance money, which is all yours, into the shared family account, there's a good chance your husband might get his hands on it after you're divorced. Same goes for the building. You bought it with your savings and inheritance. It should be owned by you only. After you gave up working, for him and the kids no less, that building is your income now. You should keep your money, not the husband. Am I the jerk for stopping my girlfriend from complaining to the manager about our waitress? Yesterday, I, 26 male, decided to take my girlfriend, 26 female, out for dinner at a local burger place in town. I just felt like taking her out. Nothing fancy. I only wanted some good conversation over a tasty meal. So everything was great at first. Our waitress for the night was great. She was friendly, enthusiastic, on point with everything, and just top-notch service all around. But when she was getting us our drinks, she accidentally ended up spilling some on my girlfriend. It wasn't her fault though. She had gotten bumped into by someone. She was quick to apologize and began cleaning up the mess. But my girlfriend wasn't happy because her dress was ruined. She began yelling at the waitress and asking her to get the manager. I told her she was overreacting, but she didn't listen. I could see the fear on our waitress's face. I didn't want her to get into any trouble. So when the manager came, I stopped my girlfriend before she could say anything. I told the manager that we had excellent service that night and she was the best waitress. Our waitress wasn't expecting that. The manager thanked me for my feedback and left. My girlfriend was extremely upset with me though, and after that we left. Before leaving, I decided to give the waitress a $50 tip to make up for it, but I didn't notice my girlfriend saw it. When we got to the car, she was extremely upset at me and gave me the silent treatment. I apologized to her about it, but she still didn't reply to me. I dropped her off at home and I haven't heard from her since last night. So I was wondering if I did anything wrong here. Am I the jerk for this? Not the jerk, and I will forever side-eye people who are quick to get upset with their servers. You handled that well. You didn't make a scene with her. Confession. I have issues with my temper and controlling my tongue, so if someone bumped into my waitress, causing her to spill a drink on me, I would lash out at the person who bumped into her. Not the jerk. Just because I can sympathize with the girlfriend's reaction doesn't make it right. If my inevitable outburst made the waitress suffer for something that wasn't her fault, I would be just as wrong, and someone defending her from me would be just as right as in here. At least I can't afford any clothes that I can't afford to lose, so I wouldn't make that an issue. Not the jerk. Pay attention to how people treat servers. If they go off on them, they ain't good people. Not the jerk. Someone who yells at a server for spilling a drink and insists on seeing the manager, and it did not ruin her dress, I can almost promise. Think about your values. Empathetic and kind. You tipped her extra. Now think about your girlfriend's values. Materialistic, vindictive, and probably would have been pleased had her server been fired. Dude, move from this jerk woman. She's shown her true colors. Believe her. Everyone sucks here. Girlfriend because yelling was not cool, but that dress will likely need dry cleaning, and no doubt the manager could have helped with that. You because you diminished her frustration and acted very much like she's just hysterical and you would handle it. Are you willing to cover dry cleaning to see if it can be fixed and replacement if it's ruined? Do you know how much the dress cost or what the cleaning requirements are? Because in addition to acting like your girlfriend is just crazy and irrational, you also possibly cost her money depending on the dress. Everyone sucks here. Your girlfriend may have overreacted. However, to everyone claiming that the dress isn't ruined and girlfriend isn't made of sugar, you have no idea what you're talking about. None of us, and apparently that includes OP, have any idea whether or not the dress is ruined. That's all dependent on what was spilled, how much was spilled, and what the dress is made of. Certain fabrics, it may indeed be ruined. Is girlfriend made of sugar? Probably not, but depending on what was spilled and how much was spilled on her, it could really make someone unhappy. Hot coffee, ice water. OP, by not allowing the manager to do their job, you dismissed and diminished your girlfriend. Girlfriend was unhappy, understandably so. The manager's job is to manage these kinds of situations. Talk to girlfriend, soothe her, comp you part of the meal, offer to pay for dry cleaning. You cut your girlfriend off and did not allow her to speak to the manager. You have no idea what she was going to say or what that discussion was going to be. Instead, you decided your girlfriend didn't deserve to speak. And then on top of that, you throw down a ridiculous amount as a tip? What were you trying to prove? So, you're the knight in shining armor, the hero to your server, and all you had to do was muzzle your girlfriend. And before everyone piles on me about how hard it is to be a server, I was one at a very popular sports bar all through college. It's a hard job, and good servers are like gold. The manager wasn't going to fire her or get her in trouble for an accident, but OP, by not allowing your girlfriend to even talk to the manager, completely dismissed her. Do you dismiss your girlfriend in other ways too? So let's recap. Server is super happy because she got kudos for service despite the mishap and got a big fat tip. Manager is oblivious and may even have a lost customer in the girlfriend and wasn't given a chance to make amends. OP feels like a great guy by shutting down his girlfriend and tossing big tips around. Girlfriend, well, she's upset because she's got a boyfriend who dismisses her, silences her, and she quite possibly has a ruined dress. At best, a sizable dry cleaning bill. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his girlfriend? Please let us know.
Maybe you should go ask that waitress out on a date. I don't think your girlfriend's gonna be around much longer.
Am I the jerk for leaving my son's wedding early after he excluded me from his speech? I have a 23-year-old son, Justin, who got married 2 weeks ago. I wasn't physically involved in Justin's childhood because his mom and I were separated and I had to travel a lot for work, so his stepdad was more available than I was. During his teenage years, Justin started having fights with me, saying stuff like I prioritized work over him, that I'm a Disney parent, but was never there for the hard times even though I provided for him financially. But he claimed that it's only because the law made me, which isn't true at all, and I strongly believe his stepdad was feeding lies into him. In the past 3 years, Justin started coming around and I met his then girlfriend, now wife. When I heard they were getting married, I decided to offer paying for the venue and Justin seemed very appreciative of it. My wife and I attended the wedding and all went well, except when Justin started giving a speech. He kept talking about his mom and stepdad and nowhere did he mention me, not even with a single word of recognition. I was hurt and devastated. I couldn't help but feel this way. I tried acting normal and keep my composure, but I felt so heavy and I decided to leave the wedding early. I went home and broke down, but then I calmed down. Justin called asking why I left so early. I said I felt sick, but he kept pushing until I told him that I got upset that he didn't mention me or recognize me in his speech, and he said that I was being ridiculous to get so upset over that. I asked him to respect how I felt, but he argued he wasn't going to lie to make me happy. I asked what he meant, because as far as I know, part of his wedding was paid for by me. He said I was unbelievable, then hung up. I called again and we fought on the phone after I told him that I felt unappreciated and disrespected. He said he owed me exactly nothing, then hung up. We haven't talked ever since, and my wife says I went too harsh on Justin and should apologize for disrespecting his wedding and not showing support by leaving like that. I bet he felt unappreciated and disrespected as a kid who barely saw his father, a father he had to pursue for more contact 3 years ago, I might add. You're the jerk. You haven't done anything to merit a mention in his wedding speech. My ex is demanding I pay child support to her, but refuses to let me see my son or be in his life. I, 29 male, used to date my ex-girlfriend Jane, 30 female, until I caught her with my ex-friend/roommate, Ted, who's 32 male. We broke up and I moved back to my home state and never spoke to either of them again. Most of our mutual friends ended up overlooking the matter since Jane and Ted were in love and planned on getting married, so I cut them all off and just moved on with my life. Fast forward to now and I'm in a much better place with a high-paying salary and just proposed to my girlfriend, Ashley, who's 26. Life was going great for me. I'm not a big social media user, but I did make a post about my engagement, and one of the few friends I kept from my past saw, and I guess they passed the information along to Jane and Ted. Jane attempted to reach out to me, but I blocked her without reading the message because I wanted nothing to do with her. I also told Ashley, and she preemptively blocked her too. Well, Jane kept reaching out with fake profiles, but I ended up deleting my account, but not before I told her that I wanted nothing to do with her and to leave me alone. In my mind, there was no reason for us to communicate for any reason, and I just wanted to live my life. Then Jane reached out to my sister, Mandy, who's 32, and told her that I had a son. I thought Jane was full of it, because it had been 6 months between me catching her cheating and me moving away before changing my number, and years between then and now. Plenty of time for Jane to realize that she was pregnant and contact me about it, or even come after me for child support. I thought she was making up some wild story to get me to talk to her, so I got a lawyer to send her an official letter to leave me alone. Then the lawyer came back to me with pictures of a 5-year-old who bore a resemblance to me. Turns out Jane was pregnant, but her and Ted thought that the baby was theirs. They got married and Ted is the legal father, but when they tried to have more kids, it turned out that Ted is sterile. Jane and Ted decided to just raise the kid as their own without ever saying a thing because Ted felt like he was less of a man for not being able to have a kid. It wasn't until Jane came across my account and saw how nice my life was that she felt like her son deserved the financial benefits as well. Did a DNA test, and I am the father. I agreed that child support was required and told Jane and Ted that I would have my lawyer send over details about payment and visitation. Ted was upset and refused to sign away his rights and doesn't want me around his son. I promptly told him that if I'm going to pay child support, then I'm entitled to all the legal rights that a father is entitled to, and that they wouldn't get a dime from me until then. If they refuse, then I'll just start a savings account for the kid until he's an adult. Jane and Ted are calling me selfish, but since it's coming from them, I'm taking it with a grain of salt. Am I the jerk? Edit, just to be clear, because despite already writing this in the post, people are still somehow missing it. Ted is the legal father and is on the birth certificate and is still married to Jane, so as far as the American courts are concerned, I have no rights to the kid. But that also means Jane and Ted can't force me to pay child support. Jane and Ted want me to have no contact with the kid whatsoever, but still, discreetly, send them money because Ted doesn't want anyone to know that he can't reproduce. So years later, she wants you to bankroll her happy family but never see the kid? I wouldn't be okay with that either. Not the jerk. Not the jerk. If that is your son, you have every right to seek all your legal rights to visitation, even custody, especially if they expect you to contribute financially. It is through no fault of yours that you are just now finding out that you have a son. Unfortunately, OP doesn't have any legal rights unless Ted chooses to give his rights up. The baby was born within a marriage, and the husband is on the birth certificate. This means Ted is the legal father, and in most places in the US, his paternity cannot be challenged, even by a biological father with a DNA test. It sucks, but there's not much OP can do about it. I do think it's a great idea to start a college fund or set money aside for the kid in case he does meet the kid when he's an adult. Not the jerk. And also, I think the law is on your side. If Ted has full parental rights and you have none, you do not owe child support. What essentially happened is an adoption. I'm certain there is a way to have joint custody, at least on paper, but Ted shouldn't have to sign away all of his parental rights because that isn't fair to him. He is the child's father in all ways, but biologically. Nor is it safe for the well-being of the kid should something happen to the mother. But I don't know what the legalities are of that. But him not wanting you to have anything to do with the son seems like a deal breaker in terms of them accepting money from you. Did they just think that you were going to secretly give them money while your son had no idea who you were? I think your plan to have a savings account for him when he's an adult is a really great idea, but maybe your lawyers can help come up with a mutual agreement that isn't so all or nothing. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or his ex? Please let us know.
Oh, this one's juicy. Can't wait to read what our viewers think.
My adult son refuses to work but is completely comfortable living off of my salary. My son, 21 male, dropped out of college at the end of this last semester in December. His grades had been failing for almost a year and a half, so it was pretty much either drop out or get kicked out. My wife and I had paid for his first 2 years completely and given him extra spending money each month so that he could concentrate on school instead of having to work. We also made him sign up with a school counselor and got him a therapist about 18 months ago because we were worried his mental health could be a contributing factor. We later found out that he had been skipping counseling and therapy sessions and skipping a lot of classes. We had a conversation about it with him, and he went on a rant about how he doesn't want to spend 40 to 50 years of his life toiling away at some job he doesn't like in order to make some boss more money. He said that work is just a social construct designed to help keep the masses down and that humans aren't designed to sit in a cubicle for 40 hours a week and then pass on. When my son told my wife and I that he dropped out, my wife immediately allowed him to come back home. That was about 3 months ago. Since then, all he does is sit on his computer. He's maybe left the house a dozen times. He refuses to get a job and tells us that his plan is to live the van life. I've worked a union blue-collar job for years to support my family, and I'll be darned if I'm going to let my son crap all over my hard work. A couple weeks ago, I got home from work exhausted, and he made a remark about me breaking my back for the man. I told him that my job gave him the opportunity to go to college, and he chose to squander it. It turned into a fight where I let out a lot of frustration on him. I told him he either gets a job or he no longer gets to take advantage of my hard work since he seems to think so little of it. I told him I would remove him from our family phone plan, cancel our internet, no longer let him eat our food, and give him a tent so that he can sleep in the backyard. He yelled at me that I'm being a jerk and that those are basic human necessities and I can't deprive him of those. I told him that if he needs those things, then he can work for them like the rest of us have to, or go find a van and get out. He hasn't spoken to me since, but my wife says I was too hard on him and that this transition has obviously been difficult for him. I told her I am tired of coddling him and I will not allow him to blatantly disrespect me in my own house while also taking advantage of all the things I have worked hard to give him. Now my wife is upset with me too because she thinks I'm being unreasonable to expect our son to at least do something with his life to contribute if he's going to stay with us. At this point, I don't care if he lives in the backyard and makes a little garden back there to grow his own food. At least that would show some initiative on his part. Not the jerk. He needs to grow up. Some folks, growing up happens easy. Some folks, it happens hard. Ideals are fantastic, but you can't eat them. Not the jerk. Well, these basic human necessities don't look like a social construct now, do they? It's one thing to do over a bad employer or a biased legal system, or to just hate the necessity of what the economics of specialization have driven us to. It's a whole other thing to do over your parents. I share his ideals. I don't believe everyone should have to work 40 hours a week just to survive and sacrifice life for labor. However, that didn't stop me from working my butt off as a teenager and a young adult and getting to a point where I can afford to live on my own. I don't have a degree, but I do have a job. Everyone has to work. It sucks, but it's the life we're all currently living. You can't just take and take and take from the people that provide for you. You have to be your own person and support yourself. There are so many people who agree with his stance, but they also have to work to be able to live. OP, you are not the jerk at all. I would sit down with your son and try to have a mature, adult conversation about his feelings and why they aren't necessarily realistic for his current situation. I agree with the son on some points at least, but the problem is that while he denigrates working for the man, he's perfectly happy to live off his dad working for the man. And B, humans aren't designed to sit in a cubicle for 40 hours a week, and yet being on his computer all day is physically the exact same thing. This kid blew a great opportunity to get the education needed to not have a cubicle job. If he didn't want the traditional college track, he could have discussed with the parents some other type of education to learn skills that would support his van life dream. Not the jerk. If he wants to embrace the van life, he needs to leave and find the van life. Otherwise, he's as bad as a boss profiting off of someone else's labor. His ideals aren't wrong, but his actions and expectations are. You have worked hard to afford him these privileges and so are entitled to withdraw them if you feel he isn't earning them. He has reached adulthood, and by your account, you've given him it all. Not the jerk. I have a couple of comments here. Your wife is his enabler. He feels comfortable being so free from the man because he knows he has a safety net. Secondly, you can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. You can give him all the tools, counseling, and opportunities to go to college, but if he doesn't want to, he won't do well. Finally, life is what happens when you're busy making plans. Perhaps the best thing you can do is kick him out so that he doesn't have the luxury to be so idealistic. Maybe he will get a taste of independence and the reward of doing things for himself. Not the jerk. I'm 33 and also started working blue-collar and manufacturing full-time right out of high school. Before anyone says that I only relate to the father, I also went to college. While I was working full-time, I attended college full-time and earned a bachelor degree in finance. I didn't have the funds to go to college without working, nor my parents, as they were also blue-collar. Frankly, I'm surprised you even allowed your son that much time in your house for free. Kick his privileged self out. Many people aren't afforded the luxury to attend college straight out of high school. I would also play devil's advocate that you and your wife failed him as parents to teach him work ethic. I had to learn many adult responsibilities on my own since both my parents were always working. Well, who do you think is the jerk? Dad or his son? Please let us know.
I'm so glad we don't have kids, Reddit boy. I'd end up putting my foot in that guy's.
Am I the jerk for sitting back and doing nothing when my mother told my wife that she'd take us to court for grandparents' rights? This situation is a bit of a mess. I'll just mention the relevant conflict at hand. So my wife, Liz, and I have been married for 7 years. We have preschool-age kids, and because we currently live in the same city as my parents, Mom would take the kids while my wife and I work. Liz is the one with a much larger income. She got an even better paying job opportunity that is requiring us to move to another city. I agreed since I could easily find a job in my field in the city we're moving to. But after my family heard we were selling the house to move, all heck broke loose. Sunday, Mom and Liz got into a huge fight because Liz told Mom we'll move away and hire a babysitter for the kids so she's no longer needed. Mom said she doesn't want her grandkids moving away, even said we should let the kids live at her house while we move. Liz laughed at her, and Mom lost it, basically saying that Liz was an ungrateful jerk and that her grandkids moving will only happen over her dead body. They began exchanging harsher words, and Liz snapped and told Mom to butt out of private matters that don't concern her, and said that she had no right to decide things regarding the kids. Mom firmly told her that she was wrong, and proceeded to tell her that she, as an involved grandmother, knows her rights and she will be taking Liz and me to court to ensure she still gets to see her grandkids. Liz was in shock. She looked to the left and saw me sitting there not saying or doing anything. She told me to check my mom, but I told her she was being unfair to Mom and that Mom had to feel upset because she will no longer be able to see her grandkids. I honestly told Liz that she was a bit selfish to not consider my mom's feelings and her crucial presence in the kids' life first. Liz started arguing with me, saying she couldn't believe I didn't stand behind her and defend her after hearing Mom saying she'd get the court involved. I said Mom was upset and could not be blamed for her reaction. Liz started yelling at me, calling me unsupportive and an enabler, then went home with the kids, insisting my family is my problem and I should handle it, although this whole moving thing was her idea. Situation hasn't been resolved, and Liz and Mom are getting more intense in their fights. I choose to stay out of it because both have valid arguments, but Liz has called me awful for not siding with her after seeing how my mom spoke to her and being okay with the fact that Mom was willing to cause us issues in court. Am I the jerk? I get that Liz wants my support, but I feel like Mom has been punished through no fault of her own after being a loving grandmother to my kids. You're the jerk. Your mom threatened to take your family to court so she can get custody of the kids? She wants them to live with her? That is a disproportionate reaction to being told that someone is moving. Are you okay with moving to a new city? Sounds like you are. Why would you ever let anyone threaten you with court for doing something incredibly beneficial to your family? Why would you let someone threaten you instead of offering to get on a plane to see you? You're the jerk. Your mom is threatening your family, and she could very well actually gain custody of the kids depending on how much and how long she takes care of them for. OMG, you're the jerk, OP. Your wife and kids should be your first priority always, not your mother's feelings over moving. The chances of the grandmother getting any real custody in the described scenario is 0. The chances of grandmother preventing the move with a family's court authority is 0. At best, there may be an order to allow the grandparents some annual time set aside for a visit, which in this case could actually backfire on grandma because the mom may now decide to only let her see the kids as little as the court requires after all of this drama, rather than any sort of friendly visiting whenever's convenient. I would. Grandparents' rights generally are for when there is a loss of a parent and the other parent is withholding the grandchildren after a relationship has already been established, or the parents are somehow horrible. It's not for keeping responsible parents under grandma's thumb. The bigger issue here is the drama and hassle grandma is causing and the lack of boundaries OP is setting with his family. OP, you're the jerk. All of this is true, but it can also be a money game. If someone can afford lawyers, then you need lawyers to defend yourself. You can be right and still lose. Nope. Unless she flat out lies, money will get her nowhere with this. This is not what grandparents' rights mean under the law. A judge would get overturned and probably investigated if he gave this woman custody in this situation. Again, unless she outright lied. Even then, she'd have to have some proof. You're spineless, and you're the jerk. That's your family and kids. Your mother doesn't get to decide, and at no point does being upset allow you to be unhinged like your mom. Absolutely pathetic behavior. This was my thought. Maybe his wife's raise will bring in enough money for him to buy a spine. Or wife a divorce. To be honest, after an event like what OP described, I think that's inevitable now. Even if OP repented, wife with money coming has already had thoughts to plan an exit. You're the jerk. Are you serious? OP said, told her she was being unfair to mom and that mom had to feel upset because she will no longer be able to see her grandkids. I honestly told Liz that she was a bit selfish to not consider my mom's feelings and her crucial presence in the kid's life first. You are the biggest jerk for this. How do you stand back and not support your wife? You are placing all of the blame on your wife. Look at how easily your mother went disrespectful to your wife. Grandma can jump on a plane or use all of these apps, such as FaceTime, Zoom, Skype, WhatsApp, text, etc., to see her grandkids. Your mother cannot dictate what you and your wife do in your lives. Your mom does not financially provide for your kids. She is involved in babysitting and being a grandmother. I hope when your wife finishes with your mommy in court, she goes straight to divorce court and leaves your sorry self with your mommy. Dude, you are such the jerk. Well, what do you think? Is OP the jerk or not? Please let us know. You want the police? You got it. This happened about a month ago, and while I wasn't actually a participant, I did get front row seats, literally, to witnessing this go down. I was in New York with my family, and one of the things we love to do is see Broadway plays. Our final play we got to see was Jersey Boys. Now, you got to understand one thing about plays in New York City right now. You have to sign a waiver saying that you will wear a mask the entire show except to take a drink or eat. You also sign something that says to get into the theater, you have to show proof that you've had your shot and your ID. That's just to receive your tickets. So going into the theater, you already knew this was going to be the case. So my family had the pleasure of sitting behind an older couple, let's call them Karen and Ken, because, yep. As soon as the production started, they ripped off their masks. 3 times the ushers had to come and tell them to put them back on. The second time was pretty memorable, because Karen loudly yelled, "What?" when the usher told her to please put it back on and to wear it properly. And then she shoved her hand in her face and said, "Go away and leave me alone." Again, pretty loudly. And as soon as she left again, the mask came down. Side note, I didn't see this, but my mom did, of them taking pictures and recording video of the play. So intermission comes around. They were muttering to themselves about,
If they come and tell us to put these on one more time.
At that moment, security, and who I presume was the manager, came over and said, "Gather your things, we need to have a talk." Because the manager came unrequested, I don't think Karen liked it.
Why should we? We haven't done anything wrong.
Manager, "Ma'am, we are not going to have this talk out here. Please gather your stuff and come with me." Karen,
I have no problem having this talk out here. Why do we need to talk?
Ken,
If it's the masks, we've had them on the entire show.
Manager, that's not what I was told. To keep things short, it went back and forth like this for a while. Karen and Ken insisting that they were wearing them, security and the manager insisting on taking this outside, and then Karen said the magic words.
If you want us to leave, you will have to get the police. Otherwise, we are staying here.
Ken, yeah, that's right. Get the police. The manager was gone for maybe 2 seconds. He came back and with 2 of New York's finest and responded, "Ma'am, you got your wish. The police are here. Now grab your stuff. We need to go." At that moment, they finally begrudgingly grabbed their stuff and started to leave. Now, what I saw next is a phrase straight out of r/that happened, but I kid you not, everyone started applauding them out. Karen then yelled,
Ask anyone. We had them on the whole time.
to which the man behind us yelled back, "No, you didn't." My parents did have a chuckle at that one. It was really nice to watch the entire second act of a truly fascinating show peacefully, and I got a great story to post. Don't fix a problem that will cost the store a lot of money? You got it. Another tale from many years ago at my retail job. I was working in the fitting rooms on a Sunday morning at about 11:45 when it was still relatively quiet. Usually it gets really busy from 12 p.m. onwards. And though the store manager had given me a rail of last season's clothes to mark down, I still had to keep the fitting rooms tidy and free of returns. So I was focusing more on the returns, but anytime I had to go back in and answer the phones, I'd do another section of markdowns on the rail. Just after I had put some footwear returns away and was heading back to the fitting room, I noticed a pretty significant problem in the footwear section. I took 2 to 3 steps towards it to go fix it, only to be accosted by the store manager coming around the corner. Manager: OP, what are you doing? Me: I just finished putting some returns away, and Manager: have you finished those markdowns I asked you to do? Me: not yet, but Well, get back in there and do it. I'm going to do it, but I just need to— No, you don't just need to do anything except the job I'm paying you for. Now get back in there, do those markdowns, and stop wasting time wandering around out here. Me: okay. I go back to the fitting rooms. Over the next half hour or so, I could hear the store manager being paged to go to the front registers a lot. This might usually happen once a shift, if that, but from what I could hear over the PA system, she was having to go up there every 5 minutes. At 12:30, she comes storming into the fitting rooms. Manager: who's working stock and footwear? Me: I don't know. Manager: well, find out. They put out some new boots, but didn't take the price down for the flip-flops. So I've just had to let nearly all those pairs of $50 boots go through for $12. Me: oh yeah. What do you mean, oh yeah? Me: I saw that the price was wrong earlier. Well, why didn't you fix it? Me: I tried to, and I tried to tell you it was wrong, but you told me to stop wasting time and get back to the fitting rooms. Manager slowly turns red. No real fallout for me, but apparently the footwear stock worker got torn a new one when they came back from their break. I'd like to say the store manager learned from her mistake. The problem could have been identified and fixed a lot earlier, and therefore a lot more cheaply, before 10 to 15 customers took advantage of the price mess-up. If she hadn't decided to go on a power trip, but anyone who has worked with managers like that knows she learned absolutely nothing. Why does he have more tacos than I do? Normally, I just make tortillas, but today my boss is out recovering from surgery. She's doing well, and her husband is home with her. So as the highest-ranking staff member on site, I was the boss lady today. About an hour ago, just as the dinner rush is picking up steam, one of my servers comes into the back and lets me know that a customer is asking for a manager because she's upset about her order. I don't even make it to the table before this miserable lady shrieks the phrase at me while pointing to the man sitting across from her. So I grab the tablet from the server to check their order. The woman had ordered one of our meal deals. It comes with 3 tacos, yellow rice, beans, and fried plantains. The man had ordered 7 tacos from our a la carte menu. I read the order back to her and asked her if the server had entered it correctly. She confirms that the order was right. I tell her that they both received exactly what they had ordered, but that I could happily have 4 more tacos out to her right away if she wanted to order more. She says, "Am I supposed to have to pay extra for that?" I told her that of course she would, as tacos are not free. She then informed me that not only did she not want the tacos, but she would not be paying for her meal. I then informed her that we have cameras in both the restaurant and the parking lot, so if she left without paying, the police would have her face and her license plate number. They finished the meal, and the man I assume was her husband, he did not utter one word in my presence and never made eye contact, paid the bill, and left a solid 34% tip with the word "sorry" scrawled at the bottom of the receipt. Okay, break time is over. Time to get back to the taco mines. Entitled Mom Won't Watch Her Kids. They Climb into the Pasture with My Horses. So I've referenced this story a couple of times to people and decided that I'd tell the full tale. I live in a rural neighborhood. Everyone's got 3 to 8 acres, so we're all pretty spaced out. I live on 5 acres, and my nearest neighbors are a sweet elderly couple about 1 acre from me. They're perfect. The husband does yard work as a hobby, and his wife bakes. We have a nice agreement where if I need something big chainsawed, he takes the wood down and uses it for the fireplace, and in exchange, I trade recipes and bake with his wife. Honestly, they just like the company. I own my own home, have 2 horses, a cat, and recently my mom has also moved in because she was in financial trouble. I'm happy to help as she's good company and I'd do anything for her. And then everything changed when lockdown attacked. So here's where things go south. My neighbor's son and his family, wife and 2 girls, 4 and 7, live in the nearest city and didn't feel safe. I don't blame them. And because my neighbors are saints, they opened their home and the brood moved right in. Up until this point, I was the youngest person in the neighborhood at 29, so having kids wander around is new for everyone. At first, it was no big issue. They stayed inside, got settled, maybe they were good kids. Total long shot, I know, but a girl can hope. So one morning, I'm letting my horses out into the front pasture, a Clydesdale and a Welsh pony, and I hear the most high-pitched squealing from next door. It was so shrill, my Clydesdale second-guessed going outside, but cautiously proceeded, only to be met with more squeals. I pop my head out, and the two girls are literally losing their minds. And I get it, little white pony and the horse from Brave. But still, they're large animals they don't know, so they should have the sense not to approach, right? Pfft, not a snowball's chance in heck. These kids sprint to the fence shrieking. The pony runs around in panic, and the Clydesdale stands there with the same confused look I've got on my face. Then the 4-year-old starts to go under the fence. Heck no. Don't you dare climb under that fence, I said firmly, and admittedly kinda harsh. But I'll be darned if she gets hurt by my horse. I walk over to them, and they look like they're about to cry. But I explain firmly that the big animals could hurt them easily and to never go over or under the fence. They go home. I clean the stalls. An hour in, I hear someone banging on my home's door, and I can see through my barn's hatch door my mom and the kid's mom are having a conversation. The kid's mom then storms down to the barn. I've never met this lady, but I know an entitled parent when I see one. Joy of joys. She starts going off on me.
How dare you make my kids cry? They just wanted to see the ponies.
Blah, blah, blah. But when she takes a breath, I get my point across. Ma'am, your youngest was crawling under the fence towards two large animals none of you know. That Clydesdale is a 2,000-pound draft horse. He can literally crush you, not feel it, and do permanent damage. The pony looks cute, but needs an experienced hand as he is very untrustworthy, flighty, and has a tendency to bite. Your kids are not allowed near them without my consent and heavy supervision, and never allowed in the pasture with them. Do you understand? She then starts ranting about,
well, if they're so dangerous, why do you have them? Are you even allowed to have them? I should call animal control.
That crap. 1, they're my personal horses. Yes, I'm allowed to have them. 2, your kids trespassed on my property. I'm trying to keep them safe. 3, this is not a petting zoo. She huffs off, I continue work. Later that evening, when the husband gets home, I explained what happened. He's understandably alarmed, and I explained how dangerous that situation is. He agrees. Not that my horses are aggressive, mind you, but it's inherently dangerous in general. You've got a 50 to 200 pound human versus an 800 to 2,000 pound horse. If you don't know what you're doing, you can be seriously injured. Pure physics. So I'm optimistic with his reaction, but no, he's often not home, so I stay cautious. Later in the next week, I'm working from home and I suddenly hear screaming. Not excited screaming, scared little kid screaming. I rushed outside and the 4-year-old is bawling in the middle of the pasture with the pony doing laps around the perimeter of the fences as my Clydesdale slowly approaches her. The 7-year-old is crying outside the fence and calling for her mom, but clearly their mom is not watching them. My initial terror recedes a bit because my Clydesdale is essentially a golden retriever in a horse's body, sweetest pushover in the world. He's gingerly approaching her in a slow, friendly way and being as non-threatening as he can. And with him so close, the pony won't rush them. He's probably about 3 steps from her, but I yell for him to halt, and like a good boy, he does. I make my way in with them and start asking the girl questions. Are you hurt? Being paramount, she's not, but she's clearly scared, so I pick her up and walk out, making my Clydesdale heel to me just in case the pony gets a dumb idea. The mom is still nowhere in sight, so I take them to my neighbors. What proceeds is about 30 minutes of screaming and crying. The girl's mother was the one to open the door. She starts screaming at me and firing off questions before my neighbors intervene. I tell everyone exactly what happened, and my elderly neighbors blew up at her, not me. They screamed at her for being so irresponsible and negligent, how they could have been heard. The mom tried throwing blame on me, but they weren't having it. My neighbors apologize profusely, and I go about my day until the husband gets home. He came by and apologized too for his family's behavior, and especially the behavior of his wife. I accepted it and said I understood. They're just kids. I too know the allure of magnificent, fluffy horses. The mom was at fault for not watching the kids. I'm just glad everyone was okay. The girls were still really shook up, so I extended an olive branch because, well, I was an overexcited kid who liked horses once too, just with a horse mom who knew what she was doing, and I didn't want this to completely scare them from being around horses. So the next day, I properly introduced them to my Clydesdale, with him in his stall with the inside hatch open and the girls being supervised by their father and me, safe in the barn. They loved it. Clydesdale loves the attention. Everyone's happy, right? Well, except the mom, who took my olive branch as an offer to teach them horseback riding, give free lessons, and other crap. But her husband shot it down hard, and presumably so did my neighbors. Since then, it's been quiet. I did, however, install a second electrical wire on the bottom, not just on the top, just in case. And yes, they did test it. 7-year-old got zapped pretty good and got in trouble with her dad. Aside from that, there have been no incidents other than them wanting to pet them when I drop evening feed once in a while. Here's hoping it stays peaceful. But seriously, don't go up to animals you don't know. Karen coworker tells everyone I'm not actually British. She really ends up regretting it. For context, I'm a 20-something British-American male living in a very southern and undereducated part of the US. I've been here for a while now, and generally when I tell people where I'm from, I get a little pushback because I don't really have as thick of an accent anymore. On to the story. I work in a small office. We have a rolling line of temps that come and go. Most of them are barely high school graduates or people with very little in the way of worldly experience. This is important for later. So one day, they bring the usual parade of new hires around, and I do my introduction. Hi, I'm OP. I'm one of the recruiters here at Company X. I'm married with 2 dogs, and I am originally from the UK. Normally, this is just a throwaway line that I use as an icebreaker, and it normally rolls right off. Until this one wonderful young woman pipes up. You don't sound British. She, of course, left out the T very purposefully. Me. Sorry, love. Forgot the coat and tails at home, I say as I drink my Twinings. The group kind of laughed it off, and I figured it was a pretty open and shut deal. Nope. A couple of days later, word gets around that this chick has been telling a bunch of people that I'm not British and that I'm lying for clout. She said that I don't even sound British and that she is dating a British guy and knows how they act. So rather than being a mature adult, I do the very British thing of malicious compliance. I need an intern to bring me some tea. Would you mind climbing the apple and pears and pouring me a cup of Rosie Lee? I started wearing 3-piece suits, a pocket watch, and a monocle I found at a thrift shop. I went Super Saiyan 3 British. Obviously, about 3 hours into the first day, my boss wants to know what's up. I tell her, and she finds it so hilarious that she assigns that intern to me for the rest of the day. I kept using odd British rhyming phrases and sayings that she would have to keep asking me to speak normal. I would reply, "But I thought you knew how us British people act." She quickly realized her error, and we've been cordial ever since. Nowadays, I keep my old red passport in my desk drawer just in case someone pulls that stunt again. And for the record, I'm not British, I'm English, and a Scouser at that. Am I the jerk for not asking my mother-in-law nicely to hand over the baby so I can feed him? Hi, I'm a new mom. Had my son 5 weeks ago. My husband's parents have been staying with us and things have been super overwhelming. Mother-in-law has a habit of taking the baby and refusing to give him back to me. She'd say I'm deliberately ruining her time with him. My son needs feeding every 2 hours, and she basically makes me beg her to hand him over to me so I can feed him. Last night at 10 p.m., mother-in-law had my son in her arms while sitting on the couch with my husband and his dad. I was exhausted. The baby started crying. I told my mother-in-law to hand him over to me so I could feed him. She refused, and I kept asking. My husband starts talking about what a whiny girl I was to complain that our son is receiving love and cuddles and how I'm using feeding as an excuse to keep the baby away from his mom. I ignored him and told his mom to hand over the baby. She refused and said I needed to wait a little longer. I got angry at this point. My husband said I could take the baby after I asked his mom nicely. This had me seething. I meanly told his mom to stop being annoying and overbearing and hand him over to me. She looked at me, shocked and hurt. She handed the baby over and ran into the guest room, and my husband gave me a look, then followed her and stayed inside to comfort her. He came into the room while I was feeding my son and started yelling about how disrespectful I was to speak to his mom this way and to treat her poorly when all she's doing is showing our son more love than I do. I told him about how she's been taking the baby for hours and preventing me from feeding him properly. He said that 1, our son isn't an object for me to act like I own him, and 2, his mom was doing nothing wrong, and 3, I should have asked nicely instead of being such a jerk to his mom and making her cry. I started crying and yelled back that I'd go to my mom's place if his parents stay any longer, and he yelled back saying,
"Shut up! You're only acting up because you don't want my parents around. What's wrong with you?"
then walked out. I felt terrible thinking maybe I was rude to his mom, but I also think that I'd hit my limits here. Am I the jerk for not asking her nicely like my husband wanted? Not the jerk. Pack your gear and take your baby to your parents. Rethink your relationship as well. Who the heck speaks to their wife like that, especially after having a baby? Protect your mental and physical health at all cost. OP, your husband is prioritizing his mother's emotional wants over your 5-week-old baby's physical needs. Get out now. This is only going to escalate, and he's already shown his kid isn't his top priority. That's not normal. That's terrifying. Exactly. The mother-in-law is holding the baby for house and then complaining that mom taking him for feedings is ruining her time and bonding with him. Excuse her. She's not even letting his actual mom bond with him. Not the jerk. Also, throw the husband away. I'm usually so against when commenters on this sub call for OP to leave their significant other because it gets thrown around here over nothing. But in this situation, I actually agree. It's astonishing how OP's husband is treating her. He says something about how mother-in-law isn't doing anything wrong by holding the baby, but she is. She's preventing the baby from being properly fed. And to even insinuate that mother-in-law is giving the baby more love than mom, I'm astonished. Run, OP, not the jerk. Oh, you're claiming that I did what? Alright, let's listen to my audio recording. This happened a few years ago, and it's legal to record without consent in my state. Alright. So some years ago, I used to work for a major tech company. I had to move around floors a lot because I was in charge of the tech side of keeping business running smoothly for those that had to communicate with customers, clients, etc. There was this one lady that was a bit of a problem and had a habit of being involved in a lot of terminations due to supposed harassment claims. I had to deal with her a few times a week, somewhat regularly. Now, I have some trust issues and generally view a workplace as a minefield and tend to have "my colleagues are the enemy" mentality. I'm paranoid and anxious, so sue me. Because of that, I record every conversation I have and have a recording going at all times via a recorder pen that I keep in my shirt pocket. It's got great quality. Story time. I was doing some work after completely replacing the computers and many of the tech on her floor, and I had to walk behind her and several other people who were at their desks working. One of the several keyboards I was carrying out of the confined space hit the back of her chair while I was walking and talking into my headset to a colleague. She turned around abruptly and glared at me, but said nothing. I finished my work for the day and went home. Next day, I get in. I'm met by security and taken up to the HR floor. She made a claim against me, saying that I made a rude comment and it grabbed her, and I was being terminated. After everything is said and I'm handed the paperwork, I pull out my laptop and quickly pull up the camera feed, which has no sound. They say, "Well, there is not audio to cover you." So I say, "Well, actually, I record everything I say or do while working here." I then slowly pull up the recording for that day and have them listen to all of it. The lawyer in the room had the saltiest look I've ever seen. Well, they lost their grounds to terminate me, and I immediately filed an HR complaint and threatened to get legal involved. She was terminated a few days later. Around a week after that, they ended up going after her for embezzlement because they do a basic full investigation into somebody terminated and found that she had been stealing company money through an expenses card. It was apparently a lot because sometime afterwards, she ended up doing time. It was a great experience, and it justifies viewing your coworkers as enemies and recording them. Also, never trust HR. Am I the jerk for telling my parents I'm going to be as big of a problem as my sister is from now on? I, 17 female, am the responsible kid according to my parents. I have 2 siblings, 14 and 11, and my bro and I get along because we're both pretty quiet and easygoing, but my sister is a complete jerk, to put it frank. She throws a fit whenever she doesn't get her way, and usually my parents just give in because she's a big pain to deal with for days. She always has to be the center of attention, and she causes problems to get attention when she's not. Gets really old. I drive them to school and pick them up now, and our mom gave me money to get us fast food for dinner since she and my dad have a work thing and won't be home until late in the evening. My sister likes McDonald's, but I hate McDonald's, and we always eat what she wants. So I say we're going to Sonic, because I know my bro likes their food and so do I. My sister insists we go to McDonald's, and I told her I'm driving, I decide where we go, and both me and bro are tired of McDonald's. She can shut up and deal. She starts screaming at me, tries to call our parents and doesn't get an answer, and eventually sulks and refuses to order food. I get an extra pack of chicken in case she changes her mind and take us home. She has a screaming, crying fit to our parents later about it, over McDonald's. Later, my mom says I know how she gets, and to just humor her next time, and I say I'm not going to anymore. And also, it's crappy that she gets her way all the time, and they need to tell her to can it and make her do stuff me and my bro like sometimes, or leave her at home. My mom says she's difficult and we're more easygoing. So I say, so, you're saying I'm too nice and I need to be difficult to get what I want? Assignment understood. I'm going to be as much of a problem as I can from now on. Then I started not doing any more chores than she does. None. Using some of her more irritating phrases to the parents and loudly complaining about anything she wants to do. And now I'm the bad guy and being mean, and they say I need to be the mature example. But also, it kind of worked. They finally made her go to a restaurant we like and never get to go to. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk. It seems your parents are enablers, and though I don't really recommend your course of action, it seems to work. I'd also stop doing things for the sister. Can you pick her up? Nope. She's going to scream and cry about some arbitrary thing, so she can figure out her own way home. Here's money for food. Not for her. She'll scream and cry if she doesn't get what she wants, so give her money so she can sort it out herself while bro and I get food. Can you take out the trash? No, I feel that I just enable her as that is her chore, not mine. If you're not holding her to her chores, why should you hold me to mine? Anyway, don't become hated by your parents and kicked out because you're taking a stand. Get a job, make money, study, whatever you do, and move out and go low or no contact with your sister unless she suddenly stops being spoiled. I agree about not recommending this course of action, despite how satisfying it is, just because OP is 17 and approaching an age where her parents can kick her out or refuse to pay for college, etc. Definitely recommend moving out if it's an option, but at that age, it's not possible for a lot of people, and OP shouldn't burn bridges that she might need, and soon. Not the jerk. Bravo! Your parents failed on raising your sister, and you and your brother suffered. Now your parents can deal with the fallout of their bad parenting. Am I the jerk for threatening to ban my cousin from living at my vacation house after how she treated my daughter? I'm 42, female, and my cousin is 40, sometimes stays in mine and my husband's vacation home, which is like an hour from our town. My mother also lives there regularly. Sometimes my mother will take my daughter in the vacation home during the time periods when my daughter has no school. My daughter is 12. My cousin has 2 daughters as well, one who's 9 and the other who's 3. This time, my cousin stayed at the vacation house during Christmas period. Due to mine and my husband's work schedule, we couldn't have time off during Christmas, so my daughter went to stay there with my mom and my cousin and her kids. Recently, we started talking summer plans, and my daughter said she doesn't want to go to the vacation home if my cousin and her kids are also there during summer. After I asked her to explain, my daughter told me that my cousin would always yell at her or force her to babysit the kids so she could go smoke, watch TV, or be on the phone. She would also ban my daughter from doing her interests. My daughter loves gaming, and we got her first gaming PC, which she brought with her on the vacation house. My cousin apparently banned my daughter from playing on her PC because she's giving a bad example to her kids, and that as long as she's around, my daughter is not allowed to play games. My daughter also told me that one night she was watching Lord of the Rings, and my cousin's oldest daughter saw some scenes, got scared, and started crying. And that night, my cousin forced my daughter to give her the DVDs of the movie and banned her from watching TV or movies without her permission. I confronted my mom and asked her why she didn't do anything about any of this, and she said she wasn't aware because my cousin probably did all of this when my mom was not present. I have a hard time believing that, but my mom apologized both to me and my daughter. I called my cousin and lost it on her for how she treated my daughter, and I reminded her that she's only a guest at a house I and my husband own, and also it's my daughter's house, and she's got no right to boss my daughter around. She apologized at first, but then defended herself, saying that as an adult, she's also responsible for my daughter, and she did what she thought was best. My husband and I decided to give her one more chance, but told her she'll be banned from being a guest if she does this again. My mom and her called us the jerks and said we should just accept the apology she gave instead of threatening to ban her. Am I the jerk? Not the jerk for what you said to your mom and your cousin, but you are the jerk if you subject this on your daughter again. You are being far too lenient, giving her another chance. OP, I don't plan to. Their reaction showed me that I should never have left my daughter on their watch again, and it's also a decision my daughter made and voiced. Let's be honest, your cousin didn't apologize to you or your daughter. She apologized that you were angry with her, then justified what she did. Your daughter can't use your vacation property because of your cousin's treatment. That alone, the fact you decided you can't trust them, means they shouldn't have access at all. Not the jerk. If she's not planning on continuing the behavior, she shouldn't be mad at the fact she'll be banned if she does it again. OP, that's exactly what I told her after, that I only mention she'll be banned if my daughter tells me she pulls something like this again. Her argument on that was that I can't always rely on my daughter's words without hearing the other side first as well. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her cousin? Please let us know.
Bruh, who doesn't like Lord of the Rings?
Am I the jerk for giving my boyfriend conditions on moving in with me? I'm 24, female, and my boyfriend is 26. We've been together for 3 years. I currently live with a couple of roommates, but our lease is up in 6 weeks, and they both decided they want to get different places. My boyfriend lives by himself in a duplex, and we've talked about me moving in with him before, but nothing too seriously. Now that I'm going to have to look for a new place anyway, we've talked about it more in depth. We've talked about how we would split costs, which furniture we would keep, stuff like that. One big hang-up, though, is that my boyfriend has a dog. I have some dog-related issues from my childhood, and they can be a massive trigger for me. When I first started dating him, I would make him put his dog in the bedroom when I visited, which wasn't often. I would pretty much make him come to my place 90% of the time. Eventually, with my permission, he started introducing his dog to me in small amounts. I'm now comfortable enough to be around the dog that the dog can be free in the house while I'm there, but my boyfriend has to be there too. I can't be around the dog by myself. My boyfriend also has friends that have dogs, and they bring them over to boyfriend's house and they let the dogs play in the fenced-in backyard that they have access to. Just the thought of unfamiliar dogs in and around my living space gets me on edge. I need to be able to feel safe and comfortable in my own home. I've had to leave my boyfriend's house before when his friends had their dogs in the backyard because they are loud and big, and I just can't handle it. So I told my boyfriend that if I'm going to move in with him, that we need to get a crate for his dog so that I can have a place I can put the dog when I'm home alone. I also told him that his friends would no longer be able to bring their dogs over. My boyfriend did not take this well. He has always been very supportive and understanding of my needs regarding his dog, but he told me that I was going too far. He said he's not going to punish his dog by putting it in a crate every time he leaves, and that this is as much his dog's home as it would be mine. He also said that my rule about his friends was controlling, and he wouldn't agree to it. We fought about it because he's never been this dismissive about my needs before, and I didn't understand why he was being like that. Eventually, he told me that maybe it's not a good idea that I move in anymore. I was shocked and told him he was being a jerk for putting dogs over my right to feel comfortable and safe in my own home. I also told him that he was putting me in an impossible position because I haven't even looked at alternative housing options. I can't afford to live by myself, so I would have to scramble to find roommates and possibly would have to live with people I don't know. He told me that he's sorry, but that he's already worked so hard to get me comfortable around his dog and he won't take steps backwards. I've done a few quick searches for housing and I'm pretty much done for if I don't move in with them. You're the jerk. That's not a good compromise at all. Your issues are yours alone to deal with, and your phobia can be worked through and healed with time and effort. He's already been extremely accommodating, but depriving the dog of its space and friends for the rest of its life is just cruel. Why doesn't my boyfriend love me enough to be cruel to his dog? This is such a small thing I'm asking. I honestly would avoid you like the plague, OP, not because you have a trauma, but because you have zero empathy. Having people with zero empathy around in one's life is begging for trouble. Do boyfriend and dog a favor and find another boyfriend without animals. Also, preferably a guy who puts his own needs first over everyone else's, just like you do. It's not even OP's home yet. It's still her boyfriend's and the dog's home. The dog also has a right to feel safe and comfortable in its own home. The dog is not any less important just because OP wants to move in. You're the jerk. Having a safe room where you can retreat to if you are overwhelmed by doggo is reasonable. Having the doggy playdate stay in the backyard is reasonable. Taking some dog training and interaction courses with doggo so that you are comfortable with giving commands and understanding how to deal with doggo is reasonable. Completely changing how doggo lives in his own home is not reasonable. But honestly, what did you think was going to happen? Your boyfriend has a dog. You've had years to work towards this eventually. Just because you are in a rush for housing doesn't mean you can force changes this extensive this quickly. Well, who do you think is the jerk? OP or her boyfriend? Please let us know.
You need to leave that doggo alone, bruh.
Sure, I'll photocopy 20 incorrect induction forms for you. Background. So I work security at a place I won't name. One of our duties is to make sure any contractors working on site are inducted. This is done by having them fill in a pretty basic multiple choice question sheet and takes a couple of minutes. It's not much of an induction, but it covers basic safety stuff. Anyway, our security office is pretty small, so normally we give people the paperwork and send them away to fill it out. They can even email it to us if they want. Of course, the contractors love this, as non-English speaking workers are pretty common, and we tend to get stacks of inductions coming back with eerily similar handwriting, and sometimes the same mistakes. I've raised the issue before, but if management doesn't care, then why should I? Believe me, I've gotten into scraps with my immediate manager about how lazily things are run and nothing is ever done. So I've stopped caring as long as it doesn't get too insultingly obvious. So yeah, one day it got pretty insulting. We get a guy come in who's a little ruder than usual. He's got an induction sheet already filled out and asks me to photocopy 20 times. To be clear, all the questions have already been answered. He basically just wants his crew to sign their names on it. I obviously say no, because even I have some standards, but my manager insists that I just do it. We get into a little argument. My manager takes me aside and basically gives me a rundown of how sick and tired of my crap he is. My crap being that apparently I'm the only one who complains about the low standards of our work and how it would make everyone on the team liable if anything ever went wrong. He tells me to just photocopy them and that's that. Okay, so I give up. Go to photocopy the inductions. As I do, I realize that it's actually the wrong induction sheet. I don't know where he got this particular form from, but it has 14 questions instead of 12. And on top of that, 4 questions, a full third of this very simple induction, are incorrect. Nice. So I photocopy the inductions and hand them over. Sometime later, we get 20 inductions scanned and emailed to us. Holding in my laughter, I reply to the email, CCing in our higher-up manager as is procedure, informing them that not only is every single induction riddled with a large amount of errors, but that they also appear to be identical, and that it's not even the right form to begin with. Within minutes, we get a call from our higher manager wanting to speak to my immediate manager. I can't hear what's being said on the other side, but my immediate manager says that he photocopied the inductions, and I hear muffled screaming coming over the phone. My manager then nervously backtracks and says that I photocopied them. The phone is passed over to me, and I tell my higher-up manager exactly what happened. The phone goes back to my immediate manager, and the screaming resumes. My manager ends up taking the phone call in the back room for about 10 minutes. When he comes out, he's obviously shaken and passes on to me that the group of 20 contractors will now be instructed to come in one at a time and fill in the paperwork in person while my immediate manager supervises them. Since then, my manager seems to have suddenly become very concerned with occupational health and safety. Am I the jerk for telling my brother's fiancé the truth? I, 21 female, have an older brother who's 29 who has been divorced twice and is about to get married to his fiancé of 2 years, who's 26, and she had a party celebrating the fact that she got engaged a few days ago. I was invited, but my brother wasn't, since she wanted to have a little party with her friends and since she wanted to bond with me, her future sister-in-law. She also invited me. So I started chatting with her and her friends, and later in the night we started to get a little tipsy. Then suddenly she started to talk about my brother, stating that she couldn't believe that he never got married before, since he is such a handsome man. But it didn't make sense that she said that, since he was divorced twice, and one of his former wives had a kid with him. Then she started to talk about him saying things that weren't true, like the fact that he was a lawyer. He worked at a hotel as a janitor, and that he was making $150K a year when he was making minimum wage. At this point, I was shocked because of how all the things she was talking about were untrue. So I asked her who told her this, and she said that it was my brother. I was confused as of why he said that, but I knew that before in his previous marriages that he had been horrible to his wives, so I knew either way I could not let this slide. I brought her to the bathroom upstairs and told her everything, and I mean everything. She looked shocked, and after I finished telling her, she went downstairs, got her stuff, and said that she felt sick and left. The next day comes around and my phone was blowing up with messages, missed calls, and DMs from my family and brother about what happened. It turns out that after she left, she went to her house, where my brother was at the time, confronted him, and broke up with my brother, then kicked him out. My family and brother are calling me an insensitive jerk and a homewrecker. I don't feel bad about telling her the truth, but I do feel bad about ruining his engagement. Am I the jerk? She deserved to know who she had agreed to marry. Also, what did the brother think was going to happen? If you tell someone lies, but don't tell people who know the truth the lies, they're likely to out your lies whether they mean to or not. It's pretty hard to afford a lawyer's lifestyle on a minimum wage janitorial position, so she was bound to find out the truth pretty quickly anyway, soon after the wedding. Exactly, the lies weren't sustainable. She would have found out sooner or later, and all OP did was ensure that it was soon enough for her to make an informed decision. Am I the jerk for not agreeing to let my wife travel internationally with our baby daughter? We have a 10-month-old daughter, our firstborn. I am born and raised in the US, while my wife's family is from Asia. After our daughter was born, my wife's family has not had the chance to see her. My wife hasn't seen her family in about 2 years as well, except for her sister and brother who live in the same city as us. The rest of her family is in Asia. She wanted to plan a trip to visit them with the baby. She wanted to leave around the end of April initially. Initially, I was 100% on board with it. We are not financially well off, so in order to pay for her trip, I've been working close to 60 hours for the past 3 months. I was putting my money and actions where my mouth is. Things got complicated when she wanted to celebrate our daughter's first birthday away from me. She now wants to leave 1 week before her initial plan so our daughter can celebrate her birthday with her parents and family back home, while I would still be in the US. She also wants to now go for about 4 months. I had multiple discussions with her. I explained to her that I want to be with my daughter for her first birthday. I also do not want to spend such a long time away from her. I want to watch my daughter grow up. I don't want to miss her first moments. I cannot make this trip with her due to finances. We both cannot afford to stop working at the same time. We are barely keeping afloat, especially with how expensive the trip will be. Her taking such a long time off work is also not financially feasible. Her response was that I should come for a week with her, celebrate our daughter's birthday, and then go back. Her family lives on a remote island between Asia mainland and Australia. It's a 2-day trip each way, costing more than $4,000 in tickets, not counting lockdown shenanigans. So her expectation is I travel for 4 days, stay for 3 days, and spend $4,000 rather than her delaying her trip by a week. She's now calling me a controlling jerk who is not supportive of her. Not the jerk. There's nothing controlling about not wanting to be separated from your baby for 4 months. The issue isn't the travel itself, it's the length of time you'd be separated and the emotional and financial strain that it will put on you and your family. That puts your wife in major jerk territory. Not to mention, he worked himself half to death to pay for her initial shorter trip, and he said that was with her full-time salary also helping. In other words, his wife expects him to work 100 plus hours a week so that she can go on a 4-month-long vacation. Also, which Asian country is this? What are their extradition laws? This is getting fishy, and if I was OP, I'd be worried my wife is planning on taking my baby away and staying there. Not the jerk. I think it's bizarre that she finds it acceptable to leave you for months with your kid. I'd be careful, because if she takes the baby for that long, what's to stop her from staying indefinitely? I kicked out by Karen's sister-in-law and her boyfriend. Long story short, I'm 23 female, and my sister-in-law, who's 20, and her boyfriend, 20 male, have come to live with us because they got kicked out of the boyfriend's parents' house and then my in-laws' house. My in-laws struggle with substances, and my husband is my sister-in-law's only sibling. We told them they could come stay with us as long as they got jobs and sister-in-law got her GED, and they cleaned up themselves. We don't charge them any rent, and they only supposed to kick in like $200 a month for groceries when they started working. We have 2 kids, and my husband is the only one working currently. They've been here since the end of October, and only one of them is working. Altogether, I'd say they've worked maybe 3 weeks, and they're on workplace number 4. It's been 3 months. They argue with us when we tell them to do things, complain that the Wi-Fi doesn't reach their bedroom, so it makes playing video games hard, refuse to pay for any of the groceries or household supplies they use. They have enough money to buy booze and vape pods, but not enough to pay for their car insurance, which led to them getting a court date when they got pulled over. Guess who got to pay for their car insurance? Us. This is literally wrecking my marriage because I'm so angry all of the time from these adult moochers living in my house. We've offered to pay for a deposit and first month's rent on an apartment for them, but they don't want that.
I've got to be able to keep a job for longer than a week first.
Direct quote from my sister-in-law. Not to mention, she's been talking about having a baby. We've tried nicely talking to them. I've tried being a tough guy and nothing is working. I'm done and I want them out. Would I be the jerk if I told them they can either pay for half of an apartment and we can pay for the other half by April 1st, or they can find somewhere else to go? Either way, they're getting the heck out of our house, even if it's to the streets. Edited to add, my husband's parents struggle with substances and are a mess. It was not out of the blue that something crazy would happen, and my sister-in-law and her boyfriend needed to get out ASAP. In fact, the straw that broke the camel's back was when my mother-in-law attacked sister-in-law and her boyfriend. I've never met the boyfriend's parents and had not met sister until they came out to live here. They live across the country, and for obvious reasons, my husband tries to keep his distance, so he wasn't really sure what was going on with his sister either. They're not addicts or bad people, just incredibly irresponsible, disrespectful, lazy, and entitled to other people's stuff. My husband's grandmother also really encouraged us to have them come stay with us because she thought they'd do well here. Not trying to argue with anyone, just fill in any holes into our logic of allowing them to come stay with us. Obviously, we thought they were capable of functioning in society, or we wouldn't have given the expectations we did. Job, GED, be responsible, and clean up your mess, etc. Hope that helps clear things up. My ex's daughter keeps destroying my relationships on purpose. I, 35 female, used to date a guy we'll call Jacob, 37 male. We dated for 9 months before we mutually agreed to break up. Jacob has a 16-year-old daughter we'll call Emma. Emma's mom is not in her life, and apparently all previous exes treated her horribly. Emma calls me mom. I never had an issue with it even after the breakup, since I knew she didn't really have one and I cared for her. Emma often comes to visit me and stays over. About 2 months ago, I went on a date. Emma found out, but acted really excited for me and even insisted on helping me pick out a dress. We had a blast and even went for ice cream after. The date went well, and I thought things were going good. However, about 1 week later, I received a text from my date calling me a horrible person and telling me to never talk to him again. This happened for the next 3 dates I went on, and at this point, I knew something was up. On the 4th date, the same thing happened as the previous 3 dates. However, this time I decided to ask for an explanation. He then sent me screenshots of messages he had received from a random number, claiming that I had a family and that I was cheating. I was shocked to see that the number which sent the messages was Emma's. Emma came over later that day, and I showed her the screenshots and asked if she sent this to all my previous dates. She admitted to sending this message to all my dates and apologized, saying that she thought if I got in a relationship, she would lose me. I felt bad and told her that she would never lose me and I would always be there for her. We had a heart-to-heart and then got sushi, and I thought this was the end of it. I went on another date last week. I had told my date about Emma and everything that had happened with her. He thought it was funny and had no problem with her being in my life still. Well, a day later, he sent me a message, and what do you know? Emma had messaged him the exact same messages she sent to everyone else. I called Emma and asked why she did this again when we had already talked about it, and told her that if she doesn't stop, she will not be able to come over to my house for a while, which is something I don't want to do. She got mad and started losing it on me before saying that I should get back with her father because we didn't end on bad terms before hanging up on me. I called her father and explained the situation. I told him that I think we need to get her a therapist as I think our breakup affected her more than we thought. I then told him that until the situation was resolved and she apologized, she shouldn't come over to my house for a while. I would still talk to her, just not see her until she starts therapy. Well, her father was furious. He called me everything in the book and said that while she was in the wrong and should see a therapist, I was a jerk for essentially cutting her out of my life because of it. I explained that it was only temporarily until the situation was resolved. However, he hung up. It's been a day and I feel really bad, as I'm the only healthy mother figure she's ever had. However, I don't think I'm in the wrong, as it's only until she starts therapy. So, am I the jerk? Edit. People are asking me how she got those numbers. I used to always give her my phone, even after the incidents, because I never had any reason to doubt her, and I thought the issue was resolved, so she most likely got it from there. I also have every intention of still talking to her, just not seeing her until she starts therapy. Edit 2. Someone suggested that maybe the reason previous exes didn't like her is because she did something like this, so I asked some mutual friends, and apparently she has a habit of getting attached to women very quickly and calling them mom. Apparently, it made all the exes uncomfortable, and a lot of them broke up with Jacob because of it. Edit 3. A couple people on here suggested that she might have installed an app on my phone to see what I was doing, and to my horror, after looking through my phone, I found an app called Guardian Parental Control, and this app lets you read text messages. I'm honestly in complete shock and don't know what to do. I was just weirded out by her behavior at first, but now I'm actually scared. For all I know, she watched me type all of this. I'm looking into getting a new phone now. However, any advice would be greatly appreciated. Edit 4. I told Emma's dad about the app and he laughed in my face. Turns out he knew about the app and told her to install it back when we first started dating so they could see if I was cheating on him. Apparently, he didn't install it on his phone because he knew I might check his phone at some point, so he told her to install it on hers. I asked him why he didn't tell me about it, or at least delete it after the breakup, and he said that he told Emma to, but she wanted to keep it, and apparently he saw no harm in her having access to my phone. Edit 5. I've decided to cut contact with them, at least until she starts getting help. However, I honestly don't know if I will ever talk to them again, even if she does get help. I'm currently changing all my passwords, as well as looking through all my devices for any other spying apps, and I'm going to factory reset all of them after. I had previously been looking into a new house. However, after everything that I just discovered today, I'm definitely going to be moving and hopefully somewhere far. I told my friends about this and they are looking out for me. I'm also staying with a friend until I can get a new place. I will keep you guys updated and thanks for all your advice. Edit 6. I didn't think I would be making another edit for a while. However, while I was going through my laptop, I noticed Emma's Google account was logged in. This didn't surprise me as I knew she had done this. I was about to log it out. However, my friend said he had a bad feeling about it, told me to check her Google Drive. In her Google Drive, I found a folder with my name on it. After everything I found out, I didn't want to know what was in there, but my friend opened it anyway. It had a bunch of bad pictures of me. Thankfully, they were all pictures I had sent to her dad back when we were dating. However, the fact that she has a whole folder dedicated to those photos definitely creeps me out. I've decided to just buy all new devices at this point, as I don't think I can handle finding anything else, and I just don't trust any of my devices anymore. Hopefully this is the last update for a while. However, I will keep you all updated. Edit 7. Hopefully my last edit. I deleted all of the photos off the folder and the folder itself. I did, however, take screenshots and a screen recording for evidence. I told a friend who is a police officer about this and sent them all the evidence. They are currently helping me and are trying to get me some form of police protection. In the meantime, they are staying with me. Hopefully this all ends soon and I can just move on with my life. Thank you for all of your advice and for making me realize how unhealthy the relationship really was. I probably never would have found out about the spying app or the folder if it wasn't for all of you. Thank you all for your support, and hopefully the next time I have an update, it will be good news. Not the jerk. She does need therapy and this is not healthy. If you don't put some boundaries, she's going to keep doing this over and over. This was very odd to me, to be honest. You only dated 9 months and she started calling you mom? That seems like way too fast for someone who was just dating less than a year and did not even live in the same house. It would be much more understandable if she was around ages 1 through 4 and didn't know better, but a teenager attaching themselves to an adult even after a few months is really bizarre. It never sounded like it was a healthy relationship to start with. Not the jerk. You need to cut contact completely though. This is not normal behavior on her or her father's part. You dated 9 months, not 9 years. While I feel for Emma needing a motherly figure, that isn't and shouldn't be you, especially since you were with her father for such a short amount of time. The fact he thinks you're wrong and called you all the names is also the problem. I get that you care for Emma, but this isn't a "we need to" situation. It's a "he needs to," because Emma isn't getting the message and your ex is enabling her. Everyone sucks here, mostly Jacob and Emma. I suspect that you're a bit of a kind soul that has been taken advantage of here, but you need to wake up and realize it or it will get worse. 1. OP, please step back and evaluate the situation with Emma. A 16-year-old who calls a girlfriend mom after 9 months is concerning. But when you should have made a clean break when you broke up, this was not a long-term situation, and you do not own the responsibility of giving her a stable female figure in her life. 2. Emma needs serious help. She's clearly got some abandonment issues here, but likely also has other issues as well. These are not your doing, nor your responsibility. They have to do with her mother abandoning her, and likely her father treating every relationship as her newfound mother. But you cannot fix this at all. 3. Jacob needs to be a parent. If he doesn't want people to cut his daughter out of her life, then he needs to be a parent and get her behavior under control. I would suspect if he was being honest, this is not the first crazy-making situation he's gotten mixed up with between his ex and his daughter.
This would be such a good movie. Lifetime for the win.
My wife went to her gender reveal appointment without me. My wife and I are expecting our first baby together. We made an appointment to find out the gender of the baby. To me, this is very important. I had hopes for a boy. Unfortunately, the day of the doctor's appointment, I had to attend my friend's birthday that I remembered last minute. I asked my wife if we could cancel the appointment and go another day, but she looked shocked that I was even considering canceling the appointment and going to my friend's birthday. I said I had no choice. She said canceling the doctor's appointment was off the table because these appointments are restricted to a specific time and date, and we can't miss it, so she'll go alone. I told her no, because that would be selfish of her, and besides, this will ruin the news of finding out if the baby is a boy or a girl. She cut the discussion and told me to go to the birthday party. I then later found out that she didn't cancel the doctor's appointment and went with her mom. I came home seething and blew up at her. I started arguing with her about going behind my back and doing this without me. She said it wasn't her fault that I prioritized a party over my kid. I told her I didn't prioritize anything. She literally could have canceled and we would have went another day, but clearly she was trying to steer the fight to a direction where I look like the neglectful and irresponsible one. We fought some, and then she said that I'm probably angry with her because it's a girl, but I responded that she was wrong. She went outside the room claiming I was stressing her out. Now acts like I owe her an apology on top of everything else, but I feel upset and like I was deceived by her. Am I the jerk? Info. First off, goodness. I came here thinking I was somewhat justified in my frustration, but I was wrong it seems. Although I just want to point out that I did not just go to the party without telling my wife and having a discussion with her first. Also, the friend lives 2 hours away, so I had to leave at 2 and the appointment was at 4. I did not know she went, and I would have appreciated if at least she was upfront with me about what she did. She could have said she was going anyway, but instead told me to go to the party and had me thinking she was going to cancel and reschedule. Edit. For those who are speculating on the type of parent I am/will be, you really don't know enough to make those assumptions, so I'd appreciate it if you just focus on the conflict I just presented. You asked your wife to reschedule the gender reveal appointment because you wanted to go to a birthday party. Your wife gives a valid reason for not rescheduling, and you called her selfish because you wanted to go to a birthday party? You told your wife she couldn't go to the appointment without you because you wanted to go to a birthday party. How dense do you have to be to not realize the moment you asked her to reschedule the appointment, you were prioritizing the party over the appointment? I feel bad for your wife. You're the jerk. Makes you wonder how old he is that he can't miss someone's birthday party. Anyone over the age of 16 would understand if you gave them a quick call and explained the situation about why you won't be able to make it. Also, these scans are not just gender reveal scans, they are to check the health of the baby and mama. You literally put your wife and daughter in danger for a party. Great start to parenthood. In case it isn't clear, massive you're the jerk. And they only take like an hour max and are done during business hours. Who has a birthday party that's only an hour long during regular business hours? Even if the appointment was last of the day on a Friday, it would have been over in time for OP to go to the party and just be a little late. Huge holes in this story. You're the jerk. Honestly, the more I think about this, the angrier I get. He wanted to cancel a specialized appointment hours before it's scheduled? The doctors and nurses have enough to deal with without OP acting like he's canceling a reservation at his local Pizza Hut. With the impact of lockdown, people are waiting weeks and months to get to see doctors, and he thinks it's a case of, everyone can jump and accommodate me. What world does this guy live in? Entitled woman gets shut down at the grocery store. This has been ongoing since before I even worked at this store. The lady comes in once a week and demands to be waited on when she's ready, and she's certainly not waiting in any line. She goes to a closed register and unloads her groceries. She then complains she didn't know it was closed, so usually someone gives in and waits on her so she doesn't have to put everything back in the cart and move to an actual open lane. Today was not the day for it. I woke up on the wrong side and was just not having it today. My department head is exhausted from all the hours she's putting in due to being short-staffed and doesn't give two hoots right now. Same for my store manager that's having to work 12-hour days to help night stock and to run the store 2 a.m. to 2 p.m. daily. They are both heavily dependent on their front-end shift managers to run things for them. This is giving us a little more power over these entitled jerks that think they have the God-given right to mistreat us. My department head was on a conference call with corporate, and my store manager was unloading a truck. So I get a call to come to a register that's closed. What? I arrive, and there she is, still unloading, but quite a bit on the belt. Me. Excuse me, ma'am, but this lane is closed. Karen.
I didn't know. How was I supposed to know?
Me. I don't know. Maybe by the neon green sign with the red letters that say closed, or the chain across the lane that also says closed, or the fact no one is standing at that register.
Well, I didn't see them, so you need to get someone to wait on me.
I don't have anyone to run the register right now. That's why it's closed.
Make one of them.
Pointing at the baggers that are not register trained. Me. That is not their job. They're doing their jobs. You will need to take your stuff and go to an actual open register.
Then you do it.
I'm sorry, but I'm unable to be on a register at this time. You will have to take your groceries to an actual open lane.
I'm not reloading this cart. Get one of them to help me if you want me to move.
Me. No, they're busy assisting customers at the open lanes.
I will just leave it all then.
That's fine.
You would rather me leave all of this than to wait on me?
Ma'am, I have other things to attend to right now. If you want your groceries, move to another lane or leave them and we will put things back when we're able. At this point, I walked away and back to the service desk to wait on the people in line there. Now, the whole time this conversation was going on, she continued to unload. From what the others told me, she completely unloaded her cart, then stood with her hands on her hips for a few minutes, complaining and asking why no one was helping her. Other customers were rolling their eyes and scoffing at her. Miracle of miracles. She loaded it all back into her cart, but then she ramped it up and tried to cut the lines, loudly proclaiming she had been waiting and no one came to help her, so she had the right to cut. Not one customer let her cut. She ended up at the back of the lines. Because of her own self-entitlement, she probably waited 20 to 30 minutes extra to be waited on. But it gets even better. About 20 to 30 minutes after she left, she came back and came to the service desk. She had her cart still full. By now, both of my bosses have been informed of what happened. Both of them laughed because we're all just sick of being treated like crap. Me, customer service voice, and pretending I've never seen her before. Hi, what can I do for you today? Karen.
I want to return all of this and get my money back. I don't appreciate how I was treated today. I'm going to
the other store 20 minutes away.
From now on.
Me. Unfortunately, I'm unable to do that. Due to lockdown restrictions, once it leaves the store, we are unable to do refunds and exchanges unless there is a quality issue.
Get me a manager.
Me. I am the shift manager on duty at this time.
Get me your boss.
My boss, walking out of the office behind me. Can I help you? Karen.
Yes, you can. This jerk refused to ring up my groceries after I had already unloaded. She walked away from the register after I had unloaded and told me to go to heck.
Me, about to explode from laughter and pent-up anger, but wisely kept my mouth shut. My boss, very slowly, crystal clear she doesn't believe her. Really? Karen.
Yes, and I would like a refund on my groceries due to how she humiliated me.
My boss. Well, I can't refund you your groceries due to lockdown restrictions, but I can call my store manager and we will review the footage from the cameras to see if we need to take any action. You're saying Brandy, me, was on a register, waiting on customers, stood there while you unloaded, then closed her lane, walked away, and yelled at you?
Yes.
My boss. I'm calling the store manager right now. Brandy, go to the office to wait, please. Store manager, after being updated by my boss. Yes, ma'am. Can I help you? Karen.
Like I told her,
pointing at my boss,
that one that's in there,
pointing to the office,
is so rude. She waited until I was unloading to tell me the register was closed, then walked away. Didn't offer to help me, wouldn't let anyone else help me, and told me to go to heck.
Store manager. So you're saying Brandy had a register open, waited for you to unload, and then just walked away for no reason, yelling at you as she left? Karen.
Well, I'm pretty sure it was open, but she waited until I had unloaded to tell me it was closed, and I had to go to another lane, then refused to help me or let anyone else help me. And now I want a refund for how badly she treated me, and neither of them will give me one.
Store manager. I'm not sure if they explained to you, but due to lockdown restrictions, once a product leaves the store, unless there's a quality issue, we do not do refunds or exchanges.
That's BS. I'm calling corporate.
That's fine. That is your right. However, this is their policy, not just mine.
Well, I'm also reporting all three of you for being so disrespectful, especially her.
Pointing to me, still in the office and listening. Store manager. That's also your right. I will be reviewing the camera footage and getting statements from all of my staff about what happened. Appropriate action will be taken from there. Corporate will get a report from me about the situation and what actions have been taken.
So, you have cameras? You can see everything?
Yes, ma'am. If you look at that monitor right there, it shows the current images being recorded. We're pretty impressed with our cameras and how clear they are. No grainy black and white images for us. Full color and very clear footage. Karen.
Well, you do that. I'm sure you will see she's clearly in the wrong for not going ahead and waiting on me, since I was already unloaded and it wasn't clear the lane was closed.
Store manager. So there was no sign or the chain was not across?
Well, I didn't notice if they were. I was unloaded. Everything out of my cart. It wouldn't have taken her but a few minutes, but she said she had other things to do.
Store manager. Such as the customer she asked to wait here at the desk while she had to come inform you that you were unloading at a closed register?
I don't know what she thought she had to do, but I was already unloaded and waiting. She should have just waited on me, or had one of those other baggers do it.
Not that I have to explain it, but neither of them are register trained and cannot use one.
Well, this is poor customer service. I think I'm calling my lawyer.
Store manager. And with that, we're done. I will now have to defer you to our corporate legal department. I'm no longer allowed to talk to you about this situation since you've brought up legal action. All discussion about this matter will have to be done through your lawyer and our legal department. Thank you and have a nice afternoon. Mic drop. Both store manager and my boss turned away and came into the office where I was. Store manager did get statements from the 4 employees. They all 4 stated they clearly told her that the lane was closed and she said it would be fine. Someone would show up to ring up her groceries. The only thing my store manager told me to do for next time is go ahead and have a bagger help her move. Oh, someone did tell her to go to heck. One of the other customers she tried to cut in front of. Another one called her an entitled jerk to get out of their way and find the end of the line. Don't like the amount offered? Then take nothing and like it. My wife, female 31, and I, male 33, like many other Americans, are beleaguered under the for-profit medical insurance industry. My wife gave birth to our precious first daughter in September of 2021, and we've been dealing with taking the little one to the doctor. Already had an emergency room visit. Yay. And whatnot when we received the bill for the L&D at the hospital from December. We were charged over $20,000 for a straightforward regular delivery with an epidural. Even though I do not like our insurance, it covered a huge chunk of the amount due. That being said, there was still over $2,000 left. Well, with my wife being a teacher and myself being a state government worker, our income isn't exactly low, but neither is it high either. $2,000 out of pocket would put us into major debt. The hospital was very patient at first with trying to get paid until recently. I had been in communication with the hospital trying to negotiate the cheapest amount possible to clear the account. The hospital still wanted close to half of the amount in order to close the account out. I countered with what we could legitimately offer and co-signing myself to the addition of yet another auto debit coming out of our bank account because they weren't going to accept my offer. But then the account representative kept interrupting me during the phone call and was being outrageously rude. I understand that we have a debt, and I'm not trying to welch on it, but don't treat me like dirt because of this poor system that was charging my wife over $50 for one Advil, amongst other insanity. The account representative continued being nasty during the call and derisively suggested maybe I should go to the financial assistance program. So I did. I called the customer service line for that said program, and in less than 10 minutes, I was getting confirmation of the entire amount being forgiven. Apparently, when you make less than 300%, the federal poverty rate, and you go to most nonprofit hospitals, they will forgive the amount. The arrogant account representative tried to shame me into paying an outrageous price for services rendered and didn't want to accept my offer of paying some of the bill. So now they get absolutely nothing. Don't accept the medical bills that you receive. Fight tooth and nail to get it down. And if you're lucky, like my wife and I, you just may get it all cleared away. Am I the jerk for not giving my sister, a single mom, money for a car when I can afford to do so? I, 17 female, have an online shop that I've been running for about 2 years now. It sells mostly stickers with my custom art, as well as some other small items. I put a lot of work into it. Basically, if I'm not doing school stuff, I'm working on stuff for my shop. I love it. The lockdown has let me put in even more time. Over the past 10 months, it's really done well. I have a good chunk of money saved for university and other things. My sister, 25 female, is divorced with 2 kids, a 1-year-old and a 2-year-old. She has a job and child support. We've never gotten along. She always acted like she was embarrassed by me. She said I'm an antisocial nerd loser, which is fair. One of the things she always made fun of was my sticker hobby. She said stickers were juvenile, and I'm just creating more garbage in the world. She totaled her car recently and can't afford a new one. My parents told her to ask me for a loan. They can't afford to help her. And she sort of scoffed and asked them how much a loser like me could have. I don't even work. They told her how much I have in my bank account, and she called me demanding I buy her a new car. Not asking, demanding. She said I don't need the money, that I could get student loans like she did, and that I was a bad sister for not offering to help her out or pay her when I knew how tough she had it. She eats at restaurants all the time, buys expensive clothes and shoes and bags, makeup palettes, trips to the spa with her friends before lockdown. I had no idea she had it tough, but in fairness, even if I had, I probably wouldn't have given her money. At no point in this conversation did she mention paying me back. She said that I've never contributed anything to the family, which is a joke coming from her, and that further to buying her a new car, I should give her what I make from my dumb hobby, since as a single mom, she needs the money much more than I do, as I live rent-free at home and don't contribute to bills or groceries. The thing is, she's not wrong, but I don't want to give her a cent. She's my sister and I love her, but I don't like her very much. She's selfish and entitled, and it bugs me she just makes these demands like I'm the one being unreasonable. So I said heck no, and that she probably is too good for my baby sticker money anyway. I wouldn't want her to stoop to my level. Then I hung up and stopped responding to her texts, calls, and DMs. My parents won't force me to do anything. They say it's up to me, but that I should reconsider. She's my sister and is having a hard time, and there are 2 babies involved. They need a car. I don't strictly need the money right away like she does, and I was pretty snarky with her. So Reddit, am I the jerk? Do this next. Tap here on your screen to come see our new podcast playlist, where you'll find thousands of hours of the best stories you've ever heard.
Or tap the one on the right. That episode is specifically just for you, based on other videos you've enjoyed the most.